Yeah.
You good?
Yep.
Okay, make sure we remind. And
Yeah.
you got those sticky notes there, Mayor? Do you know
Yeah,
what
but
they
I'll
mean?
probably forget about them.
Do you know what they mean?
Okay. Remind me about that just in case.
Yes.
So I thought they had to do with the master plan ones, I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, no. Good.
Yeah. Oh, good. Did I smell that there?
Did you see the parking lot downstairs? There's a big show going on.
What's the matter?
State police looks like they came and masked the Lakewood.
No, they're doing the enforcement.
Doing traffic.
Oh, that's that traffic.
Yeah, so don't use your cell phone, get high, or drink a beer on your way
I
home.
want to tell you something. You see that? You see this gentleman?
Yes,
The
new
new
crossing
Crossing
guard.
guard, new crossing guard.
No.
Congratulations.
I've got.
Congratulations,
No.
good job,
Wait a
congratulations.
minute, there's another congratulations.
If you could get us more people to do it.
Oh,
You know what, I tell you, Public Works needed one guy.
You know,
just
if
to
we let
start doing
Mr.
it.
Klein film the buses, I bet you he'd be a good
We
crossing
need
guard.
more, we need more
Nah,
crossing guards, yeah.
all of it.
Hmm?
Let it be known that he's also a member of the fire police.
We want more crossing guards. We
He's
need
a
more
member of the
crossing.
fire police
I'm
now.
proud of him, that's good, we need more crossing guards. We need more crossing guards.
He made his first department meeting.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't think anybody knew.
Was it everything you thought it would be? It was fun, wasn't it?
It was a lot of fun. I was forewarned, but it was lots of fun.
What were you forewarned? You know,
This guy Mike DeLee is a real pain in the neck. I have been saying that for years.
every organization has templates. But when the more they talk outside, when they get into the meeting,
Yeah.
They have two, did you say?
that, they don't make a noise. They told my son, one of the trustees told us, we're gonna be screaming at you tonight. The meeting was only a half hour.
Yeah.
One of the shortest meetings we ever had.
I don't have any more room.
The guys know everything is going good.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, let's get going, sorry.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10th, 2017, and revised by email on December 1st, 2017.
Thanks, Katie. Could roll call, please?
Mayor Coles,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yeah.
Let the record reflect that Committeeman Lichtenstein is absent. Committeeman Ackerman,
Here.
Committeeman D'Elia.
Here.
Thanks, Kate. Tom?
Rabbi, you want to?
Yes. I'm here about a situation that everybody's well aware of on 6th Street between Forest and Madison. There's a school with a synagogue, and there was problems with parking for a lot of years. Synagogue, we won't get into all the details. Synagogue had a property across the street and sold it for houses, then became over a parking problem. Synagogue also has empty property that they use for parking, that everybody uses for parking, so they have an option of parking. It was in litigation, it was a court back and forth, but right now, the problem that we're talking about is on 6th Street. Where kids have to get off a bus, on a bus, the front of the school building is on 6th Street. That's how the building was set up in 1972. The front of the school building is 6th Street. The buses pull up, they drop off the kids, they pick up the kids there. The problem came recently across is that the sign saying no stopping, no standing, instead of saying busing, loading or unloading, or no parking, whatever it is. So the police officers are standing out there telling the buses they can't drop off the kids here, parents can't drop off the kids here. And now we're stuck that we just don't have how to send the kids parachuting into school going off a bus. So I know, I'm just putting in a request, if you could just do like every other school has, school bus to unload, leave the signs there, just it should be these signs instead of no stopping, no stand.
Yes, God.
I'll take care of it. I wanted to bring it up before I did it, because so everybody knows what's going on, that's all. That's where I come up tonight. If you want to leave me that, I'll.
So are the timings right?
The timings are not right either, I wouldn't want it to be timings like every other school has. I don't need it from 7:30, but 8:30 for sure is good. It takes people to get out. My buses pull up already about 8:30, 8:40.
Well, it's no parking there anyway, there's not supposed to be any parking there anyway.
Yeah, but Tom and Frank Work looks into it. You should reach out to the rabbi.
Yeah, I'll
Make
have
sure
Frank.
that
they can work
Yeah,
that
so
out.
I just took a picture of the Grata building, which they start later than me and they finish later than me. They finish earlier than me, but I finish at 5, I start 9, but my bus comes 8:30. Gotta leave at least the window from 5:15, 5:20. I'm not looking to take anything extra, just that if it happens, there should be, if it would say parking buses also on the sign, would help out everybody in the neighborhood that they could park more in the parking lot or other places where buses park in the parking lot. That works, but, you know, at least the basics we need.
Historically and traditionally in the schools in town, it's the loading and unloading zones of, understandable, that's where the buses are.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just, you know, I don't wanna run into problems that we have to just keep on coming back, I just.
I don't want you to have to come back either. Yeah, more important things to do than talk to us.
You have plenty of important things, but.
I don't even think you should have had your finger. What, I don't understand this is, why make it so hard? Why didn't Frank Work take care of this?
Well, I don't know why they put those signs up, because last week it only had no parking. It didn't have, you couldn't stop and let somebody off. And then the rabbi called me yesterday, I don't know where the signs came from.
The ordinance from
It could be the
19,
ordinance reads
it's
that.
an old ordinance from
Alright, so
19.
we're gonna
Let's,
take something,
if we need to modify the ordinance, we'll find out exactly what it is, we'll put it on the beginning of January,
Okay.
and, you know, the worst case scenario,
But
we
if
have
you
to
get
change the
at least
ordinance.
right now to, just to change.
Yeah, no, I
know you have two
think
readings.
Tom will take care of that.
I know you have 2 readings till January,
Yeah,
and
and
every day
tonight
over here,
we have-
You know, we're gonna make sure the buses can load and unload.
I'm saying if there's something. the
and
ordinance
parents
needs
about
to
the
be
drop
changed.
off also, as long as they don't park.
I'll talk
Right.
to Frank tomorrow too.
Yeah, they can't park, just drop off, like you said.
Okay. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Can I say
Good
something?
night.
Good night.
All right, the navy blue folder, everybody.
Navy blue.
Number 1 is a letter from the chief and from the county as far as parking on Lansmore Road. There's some issues with traffic at the intersection of Lanes Mill and Alvarado
Almost got
Avenue.
killed there this morning.
Huh?
Almost got killed there this
Very
morning.
hard to pull out.
And the county says that we can do an ordinance on their street. So there's, you know, so there's no parking, and they gave us the ordinance, so.
This came up before, Minosh, and you
Yes, yes.
asked for some
We know we can
clarification.
do, yeah,
that
we
they-
know they're allowing us to do
They
it.
met
That's
with
not
the rabbi.
question.
They met with the
We
rabbi.
just, we always like, before we do an ordinance, like any, recently and traditionally the past couple of years, anytime we do an ordinance that removes parking from the neighborhood, we always like having some paper, whether it's a petition or something that the neighbors all signed onto it, so no one comes to us afterwards and tells us, you did something without our knowledge, you did something that we didn't want, we just have people sign it, petition, something, we the other side are requesting the council to do X, Y, and Z. And this way, when something happens afterwards, you just turn around and say, hey, this was a request, we did exactly what was requested.
You had traffic go out and hold people.
Correct. And they said it was
the rabbi
fine.
and it was fine.
Okay,
In
everyone
fact,
agreed, but I said I want something on paper, we never saw it.
people in that neighborhood are saying the same thing that the mayor just said, that they're having problems. because of-
The rabbi even said it was fine, but whatever agreement they made up, and I don't know what the agreement was, whatever that agreement is, put it on a piece of paper, so at least we know, if somebody yells at us afterwards, we did exactly what was requested of
Well,
us.
Frank did put a thing in there, it goes, because I have met with all the residents and a representative in the synagogue, and everyone is in favor of restricting parking along Lanesville Road in the interest of public safety.
Let's get it
I agree with that, we have to do the same thing, we had it
in
on.
January with somebody else's mayor.
Okay.
What's the problem? 'Cause it's-
I'd like to put it on, I'd like to.
Well, we gotta put it on until January.
Exactly. But I'd like to put it on.
Afterwards, all the congregants come and say, oh, I never
Who's
said
in
that,
touch
I never
with
said
that?
that.
This has been going on for 2
Put it on
years.
paper.
I got them to
2
do
years.
it.
If it's put on paper, put it on the shul stationery, or requesting this and this, so that's why afterward the rabbi, I never said this.
Right. I agree. We have time, let's do it.
We did one on Spruce Street not so long ago, we moved parking over there, a little bit, less than a year ago by the new shul. They put it on paper, this way, if anyone has a complaint, or anyone says anything, this was a request of us, everyone's on the same page, there's no denying it.
All right, number 2 is, shared services from the public school. They've asked if they could share our salt, and we put together a plan, and they were okay with it. And we
Do
want
we have adequate supplies? Because I
Yeah,
know
we do.
occasionally we're short.
No, well, we've never been short since we have the new.
You've been here.
Yes.
We have before, there was salt shortages 2 or 3 years ago.
You know, what happens, as soon as the storm comes, we order no one we're going to
Yeah,
use.
but the problem was we couldn't get the salt.
They didn't have it.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Where for some reason, I don't remember what the issue was, it was import, the containers, but we were very short on salt, we had to scramble a couple of times a year to be able to take care of our own streets.
Yeah, we're okay with the school, I talked to Patty, says he has more than enough.
But I just want something in there that in the event of a shortage, our streets have to take priority and maybe cut them off. I have to make sure the streets are taken, and like I said, if I didn't live through it, I wouldn't be concerned.
I remember that.
I remember us literally on the phone begging people to send us salt.
I remember that.
In the unlikely event that there's a
Just
shortage again.
Right, just so
Well,
you
when I was on
know,
the
I
board,
have connections that the town didn't have when it came to salt, and Pat does the same thing, so we'll never run out of salt.
Perfect, then there's no problem putting that in there,
Exactly.
Well, I know, but I'll just, all right,
just in case.
okay. Put that one.
Okay.
And then I have another letter from the school. And it says, the district continues to seek fiscal stability and transparency, and subject to final board approval, and at the recommendation of the state monitors, is seeking to replace the treasurer of the school board, which oversees the finance. Because they've had issues with cash flow and everything else, and the person not doing her job. So, and it says, the township has the right of first refusal. The Lakewood School District would like to offer Bill Riker, our CFO, the position of treasurer of school monies with a salary of $13,500. I think it would be a good idea. This way he can monitor what goes on over there, keeps us ahead of what's going on, and it's not a big deal. They send him the information, he reviews it, and he gets
It's
it around.
very often done in other towns.
Yeah, it is, and it's a good thing for us to do.
Have we asked Bill?
I will tomorrow, but he'll do it. If not, then I'll tell him no.
Anybody have an issue with it?
No, I think it's a great idea.
That was easy, we could do it, I'll split it with you. Take the odd months, yeah.
Deal.
Just so I understand this, they didn't get rid of a guy with $80,000 and replace him with a guy for $13,000. It's not like this is just someone overseeing
no.
it by name.
It's like somebody, yeah, it's an employee that's doing, similar to what Bill is doing with a full-time job.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
But we'll know what's going on.
Yeah, it's
It's more of an overseer position.
Yeah,
It's
he's,
not like he's gonna do book work or
Got
anything.
yeah, he works in another community, and he just hasn't been doing his job here. And like I said, 2 times he had issues with cash flow, and this person should have been able to see with the information they sent him, even though they have a BA that.
Got it. Okay.
There's no confidentiality. I mean, like, we could have access to that information, right? If we're allowed to walk up the bill and ask them questions.
Anybody,
About
let's
the
just
board.
actually call them on.
Public
Yeah,
information.
it's all public information. Perfect. You want the job?
Number 3 is actually number 4. On your
I have number 4.
Yeah, I know, it's number 3, but it's number 4 on there. It's, we've been asked by this gentleman, he wants to use the old facility.
Old bathroom at the corner of 9 and North Lake.
Correct. And he sent an engineer to take a look at it, and the report's there, where it came back and says, well, it's not the greatest structure in the world, and then I had our guys go out, Mike Sacamano sent his guys out there, and they said it's unsafe, it should come down.
Now, that hasn't been maintained in, I bet you, 20 years at least.
Can I ask you a question? Like, why, and I see the building and I see the pictures, I know the building and I see the pictures here. Wouldn't they be better off just, if we let them use it, wouldn't they be better off just putting up a little structure, such a small building? The amount of money it'll cost them to repair this, for it to be safe?
Sakamoto says it's cheaper to tear it down than to.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, so why don't they want to?
You're talking about the vendor to build a new
Yeah,
place?
yeah, let them build it.
That was the one-room schoolhouse in Mike, when Mike was a little boy.
It was a what?
One-room schoolhouse.
One stall schoolhouse.
I'm not even gonna touch that.
Now.
So I would like to tear it down, then we can, sit and discuss with this guy, but it really shouldn't be refurbished.
It's a liability hazard, Mayor.
No, I don't have a problem. It's our paperwork to tear it down, tell them that we're gonna have to remove it. It was deemed unsafe by our engineers. And once it's down and the property's level, we would consider leasing him the property if you want to build something.
It does have something nice on top of the building.
Well-
There are benches, and you're able to sit on top of those benches.
So we could preserve it, we could try to preserve it.
He's
No,
going
it's
to
whatever building you
and
put,
put a
you should do
building
the same
on it.
thing.
Right.
It's on a hill.
He's gonna
The
put-
back of
build
it, this building is on a hill. The back of the building is butts against the hill, so you're able to walk right on top of it. There are benches on top, you're able to look out over the water. So whoever built something like that, they should preserve that same type of idea to be able to do that.
Okay.
I gave everybody a draft of infrastructure.
Yes.
I don't know if everybody had a chance to review it, but when you look at everything going on, I would propose that we do a 3-year program with this, and we bond the money for the next 3 years to do all these projects, because they can never be done in 2 years.
Yeah.
Tom, the Vine Street project has nothing to do with this, separate, is that correct or incorrect?
The Vine Street was from 2007, this year, that's not getting done, that's going into next year, that will get done.
Got it.
We hope. Yeah, Clifton Avenue will be done next year, that's a state program. Vermont Avenue and County Line Road, part of that sidewalk stuff will be done next year, but that's in this year's budget. And that totals $3.1 million.
Where's the council line back?
It's up top, on the front page. The information, I didn't give you another copy of the infrastructure, because everybody had it drafted.
Right. I mean, this is with the capital, the other one's infrastructure.
That's from R&B, that's all the projects they've completed, what they have left on their sheet.
Oh, I see it now. Okay, the West County Line sidewalk, I see it. It's green.
So I'm proposing we do make this a 3-year plan, and I go out and bond the money for it.
What's the
next
total
year.
cost?
The total cost, which sidewalks will be $21,288,294.66.
66 cents, get that.
I'll contribute that.
Who would decide which items would be next year's and which items would be in 2 years, like in 3 years?
I'm sorry?
What you're proposing is that it should be over a 3-year period, is that correct?
Correct.
So how would we prioritize which item should go sooner, which one should go later?
Whichever you decide. Yeah, whichever you decide, let me
Let's
know.
have to leave
Talk
room.
offline on that.
Let's have to leave room for new projects that come up. What if something else comes up? It's obviously, we're not maxing ourselves out with
No.
these projects.
Well, this is-
If another
this is-
road comes up as an emergency for
Well, this is why you're planning for 3 years. So what would happen is, you'd have to readdress the bond on a road and put it off and put the other road on.
I mean, things could get swapped out.
If you have, if it was
And
an,
the orders could get changed
if it was
as
an
we go.
if it was an emergency, it has to be an emergency, and there's a separate, I can't think of the word.
But the law on bonding has changed. You used to have to be very specific. Now you don't have to be as specific. So the way the bond is written, it could just be a road project, and you switch them in and out.
So now you could switch them in?
Various streets.
Now, you used to have to say 9th Street bond improvement. You don't have to do.
Oh, now you don't have to name
No.
what you're doing?
No, it's pretty flexible.
Okay,
now.
yeah, because I could, okay.
We had that thing, we started doing one project, and all of a sudden one other area got worse, and we wanted to kind of pull it off and do that.
Or if the LSTA says if you build this sidewalk here, then we could take 50 kids come walk.
Yeah.
Do we have
We've always
anything,
kept that kind of.
do we have anything on
Just
worst
Somerset
cases,
Avenue, anything that we're gonna do on Somerset?
Yeah, Somerset is in
Try
there.
and leave big
Yeah,
chunk
so-
of that.
Because that's in bad shape in years.
Let me,
I think it's part of the capital for repaving Somerset, so I remember
let
correctly.
me see. It's, Somerset Avenue is 1.7 million.
Okay. I thought we had it, but I wasn't sure, just wanted to make sure.
So is that good for everybody? 3-year? Yeah.
That's the best one.
All right, next is Route 9 and Broadway, just to give everybody a heads up, because there's so many different agencies involved in this. I sent an RFP out to CME, Mazer, and R&B for a soup to nuts plan of that intersection, and they had till next Friday to get it back to me, at which time I'll present everybody
It's for the traffic light?
for everything, for the redesign.
Realignment, the whole area.
The mayor asked a question one time. He said that, are we sure that the state's gonna accept our design?
That's what we're paying the engineers for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the state has their own engineers. Are we sure the state's gonna?
Before we pay them, you're going out to bid, you're going out to bid on a project, and this is the design, and all of a sudden you
The
show.
state has to approve the design before we go out to bid.
We already went out to bid.
I mean, once they give us the design.
Didn't we just bid, we went out to bid now with Mazer, CMA, and our,
Or just for an RFP, to put the.
Oh, to put it together.
To design it, and if it's something not designed, what it would cost to do it, and, you know,
working with the state.
Right.
Okay.
They'll do it in conjunction with the state.
They have to.
They have
The
to.
I
engineer
know, I
has-
understand. I just don't wanna pay someone whatever it ends up being, $100,000 or whatever, and then find out that the state says, no, we'll have our own people.
Part of the
on
contract, there should be liaising with the state to make sure that the plans meet their.
Well, they have to submit it to the state. It's,
Okay.
yeah, I mean.
When it comes to
and
us,
what
the
would happen,
state's
state
already
would send it
approved.
back and say, okay, you need to change this, this, and this. But they're not gonna.
Typically, they'll design it and let us pay for it, but.
That could be years. Let's get it.
Right, I just wanna make sure if we design it, they actually accept it.
Yeah.
It's like that movie, if you build it, they will come. So if we design it, they will build
I didn't
it.
see that one. Okay.
Well, they don't have to pay for it.
Netflix?
Yeah, Field of Dreams. I give you that.
That's a good one.
What is that?
Shooter's Joe.
And Minaj, you wanna go over to, 20,
Yeah, 2020 census, okay. Quick background on the census. As you know, the United States government counts a count every 10 years. This count is extremely important to us because it affects our CDBG, affects a lot of funds. In the year 2000, Lakewood was known as the HTC zone, a hard-to-count zone, because they couldn't get into doors. There's a lot of people from other nationalities that live here, people that are scared of government, etc. They had an extremely hard time counting. Lakewood was like a very low percentile of being counted. When that happened, so when we hit 2010, and again, it starts 2 years before, it started 2018, end of 2008, we met with some of the people from the Census Bureau as well as the county, because the way it works, the census goes to the county and then also works with the town. The county and the town in 2008 partnered together. The town put up 50,000 and the county put up 50,000 for $100,000 total to be able to get the word out to the community, to be able to get all aspects of the community to be able to go ahead and be counted. At that time, we put together something called the Complete Count Committee, which comprised of people from every segment of the Lakewood community. You had seniors, you had Orthodox, you had African American, you had Hispanic, you had everyone sitting around the table. It was actually even you. We had every, it was really beautiful. It was a beautiful, it worked out so well that when the Complete Count Committee was done, we kept it going another year under the umbrella called the Complete Town Committee, because it was just a great group of people working together to solve stuff. So when I'm proposing it, at that time I was liaison to it, I'm actually offering the committee as well. I'd love to be the liaison to it. I like the other communities. I'd like to be the liaison to this, I'd be the liaison from this committee to the census on this aspect. I recommend we do the same thing. I actually personally spoke with John Bartlett already and said, hey, I don't know how it works this time. I'll go back to my committee and say if they'll be willing to do the same thing we did last time. I threw out the same number to them, 50,000, 50,000. It was a partnership. It worked last time. It worked for the, for the budget, for the printing, for everything else. I would venture to say the same thing for this year.
Can we use CDBG money for that?
That's a great question.
I'll ask her. I think we should do it. I think it's.
So I'm asking this committee to be the liaison to the census, and then, we put that into writing and put it into
Or
place.
if CDBG funds would be eligible for our part of it. If not, we should still do it anyway, but.
I'll budget for it.
Manash, if you need a co-liaison, I'm more than available.
By all means, by all means.
If you wanna go, I'm gonna,
There's not enough of us around, we just throw the whole statistical curveball.
There's at least
if
10.
you wanna mix it.
It worked out very well.
Okay, and next is the master plan. Do we want to just talk about
I
that?
started new one already, do it.
I was told to put it on, but I guess.
I'm gonna start my heart.
All right, next is property, and that's the.
Well, now, let me just throw out, since we're all up here now, and since we're live, we are voting tonight on the ordinances. When we first read the ordinances, they went back to the planning board. Planning board reviewed them, they came up with about 7 items which they felt were inconsistent with what they had intended to be said. And I think the vast majority of those inconsistencies were just interpretations of the professionals that were listening and taking notes and whatnot, clarifications. But at the end of the day, we reviewed all those whereas clauses, the 7 of them, I believe, and we changed the second reading to reflect the planning board's wishes, so that we don't have to go on the record as saying that we're not going to accept this recommendation or that recommendation. What the planning board said is what we're going to be voting on tonight. So those 7 items, I don't remember what they were off the top of my head, had to do with some of the roads. I think
There's a clarification on the roads. The roads at Cross Street, instead of stopping one place, was continuing, just a clarification. We're not changing anything, we're just making a clarification.
right, the clarifications that were given to our professionals were reintroduced so that the language in the ordinances that we're going to be voting on tonight coincides with the planning board's language. So we don't have to worry about, justifying why we're not doing something the planning board wanted us to do. That's what I wanted to say on that part.
Okay.
Executive or property?
No,
No,
red
property
folder,
first.
property. First one is block 495, lot 1.
Is he asking for us to go into a public auction?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's undersized, don't we have to offer it to the adjoining property owners, and not public?
Might this change after the master plan? No.
Not until all the roads and stuff are done anyway. I'm not sure that's even part of it, I have to look at the map.
Okay, guys, the 2017 master plan, proposed area rezone to our code approved area. We have one.
Yeah, but it's not. That's for when the roads are fixed. As it stands now, it remains R40. And that's outside of, I don't think that's part of the golf course either.
No, it's not, that's what it wants.
Yeah.
Is this doing that?
I say we hold on to it. If and when the zoning does change, it will be worth a lot more money. And I don't have any objection to leaving some vacant property out there either. That's one person's opinion. If anybody feels differently, please say so.
We can make more money.
The next one's been brought up here several times, block 1159, lot 34. It is part of the plan implementation deed restriction, so there's really nothing we can do with this property, but I wanted to bring it up here.
Well, if it's in the plan endorsement, we can't sell it.
We can't sell or do anything with the property.
Right.
Right. Well, I just want, because.
So again, we leave it green.
Okay. All right, next, number 3 is a property request from Hotzola EMS.
I want to put a single bay garage, I think. They basically give us 3 locations, I think, and it just doesn't mean to go through it. So I see alley road response on each of them.
I'm in favor of giving them a piece of property if it's so undersized.
Yeah, they want undersized, same thing they did by Central, New Central.
It says that they're all 6,000 square feet.
When they've done it by the Point's whole house.
Yeah, that's
Same
what about the
thing.
Quincy house.
Same
That-
concept.
They used a piece of land, you cannot put a house, you cannot do anything
Same
else with that
concept.
thing. Single big garage, the double big garage.
Right. Which one though?
Well, they want 3 locations?
So it looks like one, they're a little apprehensive,
Seems like
2 and 3.
This, the Joe Parker one, I think the county's planning on using that property to realign that intersection. So I think that's county property, I don't think it's township property. That's my neighborhood, I'd love to have it there, I think.
Can engineering look at this here? No?
That's the last one. Last one? No, no, sorry, not the
Yeah.
last.
Is Chestnut Street a
County
county
Road
road?
Bridge.
Yeah,
Is that
that's,
county road?
I think that's where they're planning on widening so that you can have turning lanes and stuff. I hate to screw that up.
I'm not talking about it.
Yeah, I
It
know.
looks like the middle one might be the best one.
Yeah.
Go back to the first one, yeah. The first one was,
Why don't they just work it out with Tom and then, I'm in favor of giving
you
it
know,
up.
so I wanted to do this.
Right, okay.
The one by Lakewood, we were concerned about, for the turning lane, we don't want to mess up the county.
That's what they have to do.
The first one, they're saying, given the real estate nature, et cetera.
That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think, we can send, why don't we send that one to the county and ask them if their plans for the improvement of that intersection will be affected by that.
Right.
I can't see how it wouldn't be.
So if
Well,
the mayor
It's a
wants
day
it.
tonight, you don't have to advertise. If you
So
don't
you
have,
wanna do it at the next meeting?
The other one on
Let the
Cedar
mayor
Bridge,
decide.
right at the
Let's
entrance to
check with
the,
him.
Public Works.
Mhm.
It's a shame they can't partner with the firehouse right next door, just.
Well, that was how I thought originally on Massachusetts, but they, partnered with a few agencies and put something on Massachusetts, by the old Target,
We talked about that, right, with the fire
Yeah,
company
fire-
and.
Put a fire bay, EMS bay, a solid bay, put one building and just put all the bays in right
They
there.
don't always
You
get
sound like
along.
you're getting sick.
No, those three.
You put them under one roof, they have to have
them.
No, they actually
You
do.
sound like you're getting sick.
yeah.
They do.
I'm tired.
It's a long night, that's.
So it looks like here, the middle one is probably the one that makes the most sense. Like you said, let's find out on the list, what if the county needs all that space for their road improvements, and if not.
I'm in favor if Tom can work it out.
So I think, so am I.
So Mayor, do you wanna
Yeah, I'd be more than
work
happy.
with Tom?
Tom, I'll set the meeting together with the administrator of Hudson, and then we'll sit down together and prioritize. I understand what Ray's concern is on the last one, even though it's a great location, the problem is that that will interfere with the county's plans on widening and.
The intersection?
Yeah, really.
Okay. Right, and number 4 is vacation of portion of Charity Toll Road. I received a letter back in October 19th, and the reason why I didn't bring it to anybody's attention, because I needed more information from the Weinstein Law Office. And I didn't receive it, and then yesterday, Katie came in to get information on it, and when I looked at it, I never received the information back I wanted. This is a lawsuit where United Enterprises went to court over the vacation of the road from 2014, and the judge said that it was done improperly, so they rescinded the vacation. And now, as a result, the client of Weinstein, well, it's Josh Smucker, someone he's representing, they want to vacate part of it, and I told them in order to vacate a part of it, I would need a letter from United Enterprises saying that they wouldn't sue us again.
Right.
And so I'm waiting for that letter.
Send out another letter tomorrow to them requesting it, and,
Just, what about hold us about today?
I was a little bit upset because he told me, oh, yeah, it's over, but we'll just put it on the agenda. So I'm a little bit.
He told me, I said, I don't have a magazine, I said, I don't have a map, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, so I talked to Steve, actually I yelled at Steve, sorry, and I talked to Tom and found out that the reason the ordinance was prepared, because we were anticipating getting that information, but it had not come through yet, so it's being held until all the information that Tom needs is in-house, then it will come to us, probably next year, and then we can decide if we want to put it on. Okay?
Want to talk to that, if you want to that?
Yeah, please.
All right, I had Mike McNeil ask me to come outside for a sec. Is there anything
I don't
else?
mind taking a break.
No,
We're
executive
going to
session.
closed session. I don't plan on doing any more business after the closed session, but Marty Truscott from T&M may come in sometime around 7 o'clock. If we have time, I'm going to allow him to come in if any of the committee members have questions for him about the ordinances we're putting on tonight. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
That will be open,
Yeah, of course.
so 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. If we run late with our executive, we're not going to have time for it. But if he comes, I told him to come up early so that if we have any questions, we could answer, get them answered. All right, take a break for a minute, then we'll go into executive. Or to check the Wi-Fi. Because the last thing you want is that camera not working tonight.
That was what he liked to know. He said, maybe, no, come in, then go back. That was what he said. He said also that it's too late, they're not gonna have time. Yeah. I came down at 6:50 and I said, you're here.
Put it on when they start the meeting, or?
Well, it has to warm up. It's on.
Oh, it's on,
But I have
okay.
to wait for that red light to go on before it actually starts.
Sitting home and I didn't see it working, it gets people nervous. Oh, it's not working today.
Yeah, no, it doesn't get turned on until everybody comes down and a couple minutes before we start, because then it live streams everybody's conversation out there too.
Oh,
So I don't want to turn it on too early because people are having their conversation.
can't see who's talking anyways from there.
No? I'll try and turn it on a little earlier next time. I was down there just.
Now it's on.
It's on?
Yeah.
There it goes. There goes the red light.
But they were very, very good. There were some original ones. But the rest were right. That's why.
Live stream is on.
Once I found out one guy wrote the email with the word that said,
Mr. Secare.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10, 2017, and revised via publication via email on December 1st, 2017.
Thanks, Katie. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Coles?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Here.
Let the record reflect that Committeeman Lichtenstein is absent, Committeeman Ackerman,
Here.
and Committeeman D'Elia.
Here.
Please stand for the salute to the flag and remain standing for the prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we pause to give our thanks for thy many blessings. We ask thy blessings upon this township committee and all those in authority so that they may serve the people. All this we ask in thy name. Amen.
Move open session. So made. Second. Back and open. Can I have a motion to approve the executive, workshop, and regular minutes of the session 2017? So made. Moved by Minash. Second. Second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we decided to put off the land sale that was scheduled for tonight. It's going to be moved to December 21st, our next meeting.
It will not be re-advertised, Mayor.
It will not be re-advertised, because we're announcing it here.
And that was the land sale for block 11.12, lot 62.
I had some questions about why the zoning ordinances were moved up to the beginning of the agenda. I honestly expected there to be standing room only here tonight, and I know a lot of folks come out specifically for that. So I asked that we put them on at the beginning of the meeting so people can actually have the opportunity to speak on them, be heard, and not have to stand around and wait for all the rest of the business of the night to be taken care of. Before I open up and we start doing them, I just want to thank a lot of people. The members of the Planning Board and the Master Plan Advisory Board have put in an awful lot of work for a long time. And I think the document that they turned over to us is something that once we have a chance to look at it, digest it, that we can be proud of. Nobody's going to be 100% happy with it, but that's life, unfortunately. We can't always have everything that we want. One of the things that came to my attention was that when we first read the ordinances a couple of weeks ago, the Planning Board took them back and said that there were several inconsistencies, 7 I believe, that they felt were out of keeping with what they intended when they passed the master plan the first time. So our professionals have gone back over those 7 items and reverted the language so that it is the way the Planning Board intended it to be. So none of those 7 things have been changed. So basically what we're voting on tonight is the end result of an awful lot of hard work by a lot of people over probably close to a 2-year period. The Master Plan Advisory Committee, who held many meetings over many nights and listened to hundreds of hours of people telling them what they thought, and the Planning Board, again, over several meetings and a lot of hours and a lot of people coming to the microphone for and against. To distill everything like that into a document is almost impossible. I'm sure that as we look at this document over time, we probably will notice some inconsistencies or some inaccuracies that weren't intended and are just a result of the way language is interpreted. I spoke to a couple of Planning Board members before the meeting tonight and told them that if things like that are noticed, to bring it to the attention of myself and the other committee members, and we will work with them to rectify the situation. We're looking to put a document together that will help set the blueprint for the future of the town. Not something that can be used by people to take shotgun approach to it and take what they want. As close as we can, this will be the Bible for development in Lakewood over the next, hopefully, 10 years. There's going to be changes, there will be challenges, but again, we will work with the Planning Board to try and keep the vision that the people of Lakewood presented to them and to us as consistent and constant as possible. So with that, we're going to start with the second reading of the ordinances. Each one will be open to the public. Each person will have an opportunity to speak. We ask that you leave your name and address for the record, and since we're just second reading on these ordinances, keep your comments on each one to 5 minutes or less. So Katie, let's get the show on the road.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, as to amend Chapter 18 entitled the Unified Development Ordinance of 2005 to amend and create various sections for riparian buffer conservation overlay zone.
Okay, I'll open the meeting to the public on this ordinance only. Would anybody like to be heard on this ordinance? Going once?
This is the master plan?
No, this is the riparian buffer conservation overlay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee. My name is Frederick W. Robison, R-O-B-I-S-O-N. I think most people in this community will refer to me as Rob. Nickname that I was tagged with in the Marine Corps in 1969. Bit of confusion on my part, not at all unusual for me. And let me say, while I look for the actual piece, that I think there probably would have been standing room only, but for the fact that it appears that many of the concerns, particularly in the community in which I reside, were ignored, and the general feeling is, why bother? So I was asked to come and speak on behalf of a great many of them, although I realize I should really only be speaking for myself. As to this first ordinance, my confusion is as follows. The first reading was on June 22nd, 2017, and at that time there was one master plan in place. Second reading is scheduled for December 7th, or tonight, with a new master plan in place. With all due respect, where is the determination of consistency or inconsistency with the new master plan, which I do believe to be a state requirement? I would suggest that this ordinance needs to be tabled until the planning board has had the opportunity to affirm the consistency or state the inconsistency therewith, even if they have done it in the past. Our master plan has changed significantly, and I think that review is warranted at this point. I agree with you that a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort has been consumed by a great many good volunteers, and that we desperately need a master plan. But I am fearful that a rush to conclusion is simply going to create problems that will ultimately delay the implementation. It's noted in the email that I sent to all of you this afternoon. So I would respectfully suggest and request that you give serious consideration to tabling this ordinance until such time that the consistent review is properly completed. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard on this ordinance?
Is this the traffic ordinance?
No. I see nobody will close the public hearing on the first ordinance. Do I have a motion? Motion. I'll second. Moved by Meissen, seconded by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Committeeman Lichtenstein. I'm sorry, is absent. Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18, Unified Development Ordinance of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Article 8, Design Standards, Section 18-815, Stormwater Management Residential Site Improvement Standards.
Thanks, Katie. Anybody like to be heard on this ordinance? This is the stormwater ordinance, not the zoning ordinance that everybody's here for. All right, seeing nobody will close the public hearing on this ordinance. I'll move it. Moved by Isaac, seconded by Menashe. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman.
Yes.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 entitled Unified Development Ordinances of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood to implement the Lakewood Township Master Plan.
This is the one. So I'll open the meeting to the public. Anybody who'd like to be heard, please press to the microphone. State your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes.
You said there were 7 changes.
You can come to the microphone when this is still on.
Kathy Stillwell, 950 Brook Road, Lakewood. I believe this is the section that I should be up here commenting on. The reason that I'm putting in an appearance tonight is because I believe that the Township Committee and Mr. Sakara is well aware of my husband's and I and our neighborhood's fight to rectify a zoning ordinance that was improperly voted upon because it didn't have notice to our residential residents. And as a result of that, we have had a legal case which the judge nullified the ordinance on June 2nd. However, it is again being challenged by a group of developers. So, as I understand it, the master plan is the final word on the residential area on East County Line Road. So I am here to put on the record that I understand, and I would appreciate it if you would confirm, perhaps Mr. Seaker can confirm, that the residential areas on East County Line Road will not have any commercial development allowed on it, conditional or otherwise, that was implemented by that nullified ordinance that is now again being challenged. But I know that if the master plan says that it's residential, that that's the final word on what is supposed to happen on East County Line Road in residential areas. So can you comment on that now? Or?
Steve, am I allowed to comment on that?
I'd rather not, since it's pending litigation, as Ms. Stillwell says.
But what I can say is that the ordinance is not mentioned in this development ordinance because that zone did not change. If you go back and read that, it has the residential use. There is a subset where that ordinance that you mentioned was put in, and now there's language removing that and nullifying it. So the R12 is as it was before that. I can't comment on what the judge is going to do, Kathy. You know, we had this conversation a couple days ago.
Correct, but
So
I want...
at this point in time, as best as I can tell you, unless the judge changes that, that's where it's at. Once the judge finalizes it, again, I don't think this committee will have any problem looking at that zone and making whatever appropriate changes to make sure that that happens into it.
So if something should change with the judge's determination in the future, it is my understanding that this township committee wants that to remain residential.
That's what we decided. That's my vote. Again, what I said was, I told you the other day, I will ask the committee to consider tightening up the language on it, but we can't do anything until after the judge makes her final decision.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, I just want to get it on the record. Thank
On
you.
the record. Thank you. Now, don't make me ask.
Beg.
I'll just gavel it down.
Isaac Goldsmith, 87 Finchley Boulevard. First, I appreciate you coming back and fixing the ordinances that were in line with the planning board. Appreciate the hard work that was done behind the scenes to get that done. One small caveat that's not a contradiction is that I brought this up at a planning board meeting, and I had spoken to Mr. Coles about 2 months ago about this. Mr. Truscott and Mr. Jackson, the Township Planning Board attorney, both told me very specifically that it is not legal to tie the master plan zoning to traffic improvements. Being the logic they said was that it's not in our control because all the roads are on township roads and we have no timeline. If it was litigated, it would be thrown out in court. Now, normally that wouldn't be such a big deal because then the whole thing should fall. However, as I brought to your attention and their attention, is that the township ordinances have a clause that if one part is found unconstitutional or illegal, just that part falls, but the rest stays. So I'm concerned that basically they will litigate that throughout the condition of the improvements and the impact fees, and the density increases will all stay on the books and will be messed over for permanently that way. You had said at the time you were going to look into it and make sure you can pass the sniff test. Mr. Seeker, I've been emailing for a month trying to get an answer. If I can just get either a legal opinion from him or Jackson saying that it's legal to uphold, or if we can have verbiage or language saying that regarding this specific ordinance, that if one part falls, the whole part falls. And the regular standard language of a disclosure, that if one part falls, just that part falls, shouldn't apply to this specific area. And you told me at the time, about 2 months ago, you'd be speaking to Mr. Seeker. Did you get a chance to?
We've talked several times. Steve hasn't been doing a lot of the work on the ordinances. Harold has been, and Mr. Truscott. I know that the concern about tying the changes to traffic improvements was brought up, and that was the whole intent of having the second zoning map, which doesn't take effect. Can either of you two speak to Mr. Goldsmith's concerns about that, and how it would relate?
Sure, I don't think it's so much tied into the improvements, it's tied into the adoption of the amended zoning map. And that's a function of the township committee that makes a determination, and that triggers the new ordinance provisions coming into effect. I don't think it's affected by a challenge that says it had to be done within a certain time. We can do it. We can do it this way to trigger the implementation of provisions of the ordinance, which is what we provided. Township committee has to take action to adopt that amended map. Then those revisions take effect.
So you're telling me that would uphold in a court of law, that it's fully legal to tie?
Yeah, that's our position, yes.
That's our legal opinion. I can't tell you what's gonna happen. We get sued every day here.
That's fine. I want on the record that you.
And we win most of it.
You discussed it. It's something that's on the record, and it's something that you're aware of and you've thought through, and that's your legal opinion. That it is.
Hours and hours and hours.
Perfect. Second thing is regarding the impact fees, which I know you did put in as well, that it's conditional that whatever the end result will be. But I was getting some misinformation from people that people are telling me there currently is impact fees on the township ledger, but it's not being enforced. And they tried in the past and it's been knocked down in court. Like, can you have clarity of what is officially, if there are currently impact fees on the books?
There are impact fees for certain parts of town. We are working on an ordinance to blanket the entire town. Okay, that's when we introduced it a while ago for Oak Street, we were sued. And we went to court and we discussed and we came up with an agreement with the Shore Builders and a couple other organizations. One of the holdups with this is that the same thing happened. They wanted to come to the table. And actually, Steve and I talked about this earlier, because Harold and I talked about it earlier today, to put them on notice that we're not going to wait anymore. If they want to come to the table and they want to give us their opinion and their input, we'll be happy to synthesize it into the final product. If not, it's our intention at the beginning of next year to introduce the ordinance for the rest of the town. And if they want to come and sue us again, I mean, anybody can sue anyone for anything. Obviously. But again, the ordinances, a lot of those changes are tied to impact fees. The impact fees will be in place as soon as possible.
Okay. And I guess the range and everything will have to be worked out.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer Benkowski, 6 High Street.
Speak a little bit more to the mic, please.
Jennifer Benkowski, 6 High Street. I wanted to ask you, you said that there were 7 differences between what the planning board wanted and what the township committee ended up with. Can you tell me how you resolved that? Specifically, were the roads going to be widened from all the way with the grading system from beginning to end?
I don't have the paper in front of me, but whatever the planning board sent to us, that language that included where the roads went to, our roads were there.
Massachusetts, Pond.
That whatever the planning board sent to us was put back in, and it reflects what the planning board sent to us the first time, without any of our professionals interpreting what was meant That's one of the reasons that the ordinances go back to the planning board for review after the first reading, is to make sure that everybody's on the same page. They noticed several things that weren't. They sent us the letter, and I asked Mr. Truscott and Mr. Hensel to go back and to make sure those revisions were corrected.
So the density will not go ahead, it's contingent upon the...
Correct. The road, I think the language is something along the lines of the roads have to meet a traffic condition grade of C, which is a standard from A to F, before anything can be considered.
From beginning to end. Okay. Out of curiosity, in case something goes wrong and it doesn't happen, does Lakewood Township allow for private citizens to put a ballot initiative amendment on the ballot?
We have ballot initiatives, Steve? We've never asked that before.
We don't do that?
No.
But I hope that's not going to come to it. I don't want to have anybody spend that kind of time and effort. It's our intention, as I said before, it's our intention to follow the wishes of the township and the residents that are reflected in what the planning board sent to us. That's why we immediately made those changes and didn't want to play games with anybody. So hopefully you'll see that, and those changes won't take effect until we actually have roads that will carry the people that are on them now, as well as anybody in the future.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Ryan Hurst, 37 Sunset Road. First of all, good evening. How many ordinances relating to the master plan are on the agenda tonight?
Just the 4 that we put up for the second reading.
And each one will be able to be spoken about, right?
We're on the third one already, yes.
First of all, I don't understand, if there's 7 changes, how is this a second reading? It's a different ordinance.
No, it's not. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's my question.
The planning board sent us a document. Our planners and our attorneys took that document and went through it to make changes to existing zoning ordinances or to create new ones, if that were the case, to present to the township for first reading. They did their best effort to take what was given to them and give us the same information. Words can be, challenged, words can be misconstrued. When we sent the ordinances back to the planning board, which is why we do that, so they can make sure that what we're voting on is what they intended for us to do, they came back to us with a list of 7 things. Now, it's within the township committee's authority to ignore those 7 things and to just press ahead anyway. All we would have to do would be to state on the record what each one was and what our reasoning for ignoring that recommendation was, vote on it, and then we would be able to go ahead. This entire township committee opted not to do that. Again, I've said before, the amount of time and effort that went into this plan, I wasn't going to throw back in people's faces. When they came to us and said, this is what our intention was for these particular items, we said, okay, and our professionals turned around and they put the language, the changes, whatever had to be made, to make sure that it coincided with what the planning board wanted.
And you say the township could have done that. You legally had the authority, but every single one of you up here is voted in by the people. Do you think the majority of people wanted them in there, the conditions to ride on the roads, or didn't want them in there?
Obviously, we didn't think so. That's why we decided not to try and do any of that.
Okay, I'm just saying, it's not like benevolence
No, I
appreciate the hard work.
I did not
that's
want to throw
supposed
in the face of the people who spent all that time and effort.
It's not in the pay, I like the planning board, I don't really care, it's not the planning board who you have to take care of, it's the people who you represent. You don't represent the planning board, you represent the people and citizens of Lakewood. It doesn't matter whether the planning board, worked hard or not, or whether the township committee worked hard or not. We thank you for your service and appreciate it, but you have to do it because that's what the citizens want and that's why they voted you in. Now, I also appreciate all the hard work the township committee puts in and the planning board and everybody, but I'm a little sick and tired of hearing that we worked so hard, so just accept it the way it is. That's not acceptable. I appreciate the hard work and I thank everybody for the hard work, but it still has to be a good product that comes out of that. And if it's not, the hard work is nice, I'm sorry, it's not a lot of time, but if it doesn't pass the snuff test, it doesn't pass the snuff test. I noticed these packets are very large. Did you guys all read them?
Yeah, I read this several times over the past month or so since I've had it, different drafts and whatnot.
Minash, were you able to?
Brought to my attention various parts of it. I had opportunities to go through a large chunk of it prior to this.
Okay. Isaac?
Honestly,
Honestly, this version wasn't available to me until yesterday, and I did not have the time to go. I was sitting in the office with Mike, we were talking about splitting it and whatever. I did not go through the whole thing.
Mike?
That excludes me from
As
voting.
soon as I was aware of the parts that were left out or changed, working with the rest of the committee and the mayor, I'm satisfied when they made the changes.
So I'm saying.
I have sped read some, yes.
You sped it, okay. This is the most important document that's going to be spread in Lakewood next coming. It's an Isaac, and Mike is saying halfway, and it was available yesterday. I don't feel as a citizen I was done justice for the documents we made available on Just wanted to say one thing else. There was many people who came and spoke by old master plan meetings. Most of them, I would say 90%, spoke against density. There were 26 people who spoke pro density. I'm not going to mention their names, but I have documents here that every single one of them was either related to or works directly for developers. And I have information here I can give you, whether they're a landscaper, whether it's a daughter of a developer. So when people say that there was two sides to the coin, there was only one side. All the citizens of Lakewood who weren't connected to developers wanted no density. No more density. And I just want you to understand that. And nobody should think that there were anybody who wasn't connected to the developer who wanted increased density. Thank you. And thank you for your hard work.
Good evening. I was here last year. I said I came in vain. I feel like I'm doing it again in vain. And I'm here just for the record. I see nothing's changed. Even though you're going to widen the streets, you're going to use the excuse now, since you're widening the streets, you can keep on building. Everywhere I go, all I see is construction being done by contractors that have a way to get into your, I don't want to say pockets, but how else could they get into you? You live here, you see what's going on, you see the lines. When me as a mother, I have to think twice when I leave my house if it's a good time or not, if I should wait another hour so I don't get stuck in traffic. Why? I mean, how many times do I have to come here? Nothing has changed. Buildings are still going up. When are you guys gonna get it? We are suffering. I'm here 5 years. I came here. There was greenery. There wasn't all this traffic. How in 5 years could this be done? What is going on? Why are you not listening to us? Some people are new here that I did not see last year. The same old people. I spoke here last year. Nothing changed. All due respect, nothing has changed. What do we have to do that you get it? We do not want any buildings anymore until the traffic problem is finished. Number 2, I'm here less than 5 years. When I came in, I bought my bi-level little house. I was paying $6,100 in taxes. As of today, I pay almost $10,000 in taxes. I did not change anything in my house. I didn't extend. I didn't do anything. I went and asked them why. They said because all of the houses, the beautiful new houses that people did around you. I didn't do the houses. Why do I have to pay the taxes that I can't afford? How is it that a family of 4 people have to pay $10,000 in taxes? Explain that to me. What about the mortgage? How do you want us to live? I can't, something has to be done. You're looking at me, you're staring at me, you're hearing me, but you're not doing. This is the first time I did not go out and vote in Lakewood. I said it's not going to count because the same people are going to go back up. And you know what? It did. Is there anyone that can tell me what can be done? Are you going to now give us a little bit wider street and say now we can build more? Are we going to go through that again? Are we going to be here in a year or 2 to go through the same problem? Are you just going to let all the contractors on the builders keep on building because you're going to give us a little widened streets? And when is this widening streets going to happen? I'm not sure because I can't read all these big papers. Anybody can answer me? Is there a plan? Is there a year? Is there a...
There's no timetable on when the streets will be widened, which is why none of the changes will take effect until they're done. I'm not going to say the changes will take effect in 2 years if we're not sure the roads will be done. When the roads are done and a township hired traffic engineer does a study and grants that there are the qualifications that the township planning board required, that will trigger that potential part of it. But
is anybody can fire the planning board because I don't think they're doing anything yet. You know what? You just shut everybody up and say we're gonna widen the streets. You don't even have an agenda. When you're gonna do it? I don't know. Understand? People have agendas. They have plans. Trump said he's gonna do things. He does it. What are you doing? You can't even tell us when you're gonna widen our streets.
We're working with the county to get them done. Most of the streets that are on that list are county roads.
We were working about it last year also. We got the same answers last year. We're getting the same answers now.
Promising us that they are going to make it a priority. They're in the process of doing a traffic study on the entire county.
So are you gonna make it a priority?
I talk to them a couple times a month. And I talk to the engineers about once a week, about different, not every road every time.
Right,
I'm
so
trying
we're
to
gonna
find
go
what
in
the
circles.
status
You're
of
gonna
some
talk
of
to
these
them,
are.
I'm gonna talk to you, we're gonna keep on going in circles. And no one's gonna say like, hey, you know, this fault or that fault. We're just gonna go in circles. That's the way, that's the American way in 2017. Thank you.
Good evening once again. For the record, I'll restate my name, Frederick W. Robinson, 79 Eagle Ridge Circle. A bit disheartening to hear that our elected officials didn't receive these ordinances until less than 24 hours before the meeting. In spite of the best efforts of the staff in the Office of the Municipal Clerk, which is appreciated, I could not access the ordinances until I got here tonight. That is insufficient time for any citizen, much less a retired city manager and planner, to review these ordinances. The perception, and I say the word perception, not charge, is a rush to judgment here, which is very concerning to me. Why the rush to judgment? Something of this magnitude in most municipalities takes 6 to 9 months from the time the planning board receives the reports of the subcommittees. And here we're trying to get it done in 2.5 months. I think it's just going to lead to more problems. They're going to actually slow down the progress that we all want to make in the various areas. Another concern I have, and to be honest, I'm not sure if it's this ordinance or the next one. I didn't get a chance to read all 200-odd pages. But again, in a point I made to you in writing earlier, but I think it's important to have it on the record, there are a couple places where there is an if-then statement that appear to take away the authority of the zoning board to make decisions based upon a consideration of the positive and negative criteria. And with all due respect, I do not believe that is legal to usurp the authority of a zoning board of adjustment. And if that is indeed what is ruled, then there is a distinct possibility that the courts will directly go all the way back to the beginning, start over. And we have hundreds of hours of good time put into this. Let's take our time. Let's get it right. I realize there are going to be differences of opinion. I'm in Southwest Lakewood. We have some very well-stated concerns. There are other concerns of interest throughout the town. But let's make sure that this whole rush to judgment doesn't lead to a complete crumpling of the master plan and related ordinances. I dare say that will be more frustrating than any difference of opinion that exists among the different groups in this town. Thank you much.
Thank you, Ron.
Can I add something?
Have you already spoken in this ordinance?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just one bite of the apple. Next ordinance, you're welcome to come up.
My name is Ernie Harper. I live at 18 Gold Crest Drive, Montgomery Village, Lakewood, New Jersey. I came a little bit late when the meeting started, but I would like to just say over. I moved here 8.5 years ago, and there was no traffic. The traffic started maybe 4 to 5.5 years ago, and there used to be a magazine that used to give out every month how many accidents there were in Lakewood. And when I came, maybe there was 20. The last year, there's been 80 to 100 accidents a week, and the week of Passover, there was 135 accidents. Now I hear there's fatalities also, and I think the only reason is because there's so much building. When I used to go So BMG in the morning would take me 5-6 minutes, now it could take me 15-20 minutes. And then I think this whole thing is because there's a lot of traffic in a small area. I don't think Lakewood is capable of just to keep building and cut down every tree in Lakewood to build as many houses as you can. I don't think Lakewood could fit in 200,000 people. Now it's already over 100,000 people. And we all have to go into 1 square mile area to get to BMG because all the BMGs are all in one area. Besides all the schools and all the girls' schools and the boys' schools and the high schools, there's traffic all day. And if you're just going to keep building, it's not going to help. I don't think it's going to help even to widen the roads, because unless you test it out, because they made so many cul-de-sacs. I see here on Route 9, they built over there, and they had between 500 houses. 500 houses means 1,500 cars. Route 9 is bumper to bumper till now. Now, how are those 1,500 cars going to get out? On Vine Street, they're going to go. They want to get out of Route 9. It's not possible. The way it is, the only way, so I don't see, even if you're going to wind the roads, it might help for the population that's here now, but if you're going to continue to build, and you're going to build hundreds of houses, which will cause thousands of more cars to come into Lakewood. Besides that I think that, like the ladies used to say, the ambulances won't be able to get through, there'll be fatalities, God forbid, accidents, I don't know what. If it's now 100 accidents a week, what's going to be when there's 200,000? It'll be 300 accidents a week? I don't think it's a place. And what would I like to know if Tom's River has 300 accidents a week? That's what I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Going once, twice, and Aaron gets up. Okay.
Bill Wachtenheim, 29 Golden Springs Drive. I grew up in Lakewood. I came here when I was 66 years ago. It was a beautiful place to live. You could move around. You could walk the streets. You didn't have to worry about anything. I come back to Lakewood a couple of years ago, and like everybody has been saying, you can't move. You can't drive on the roads. You have to worry about crossing the roads, intersections. The question I have for the board is, for you gentlemen, what are the requirements? Are there any requirements for building? Can anybody go out and start building developments? Are there any guidelines for how many homes can go into an area? Are there minimum requirements for lot sizes or a number of people in a dwelling? I'm looking at this packet and I'm going through it and I see a lot of definitions of things. But I'd like to be able to go to one place and take a look and find out why so many houses are being built. Why does it keep growing? It's crazy. Why is it allowed to be done? And everybody's voicing the same opinion here. Why do we keep building in Lakewood? Why do you keep allowing it? So it's to the point where nobody can move around. I'd like a document, if someone can steer me to it, that says this is what's allowed to be built, this is how you're allowed to build it, and this is how much we're going to build. Is such a thing existing? Is it this? Because that's what I see as master plan. Master plan says this is what we're going to look like at the end of the day. Does such a thing exist?
It's not any one particular document. You mentioned the master plan. The master plan is the overall vision for what should happen in the town and how it should be developed. The master plan is adopted, it's then codified into ordinances. That's the Unified Development Ordinance. That's something that it's online, okay? Yeah. Okay, it's online if you wanted to peruse it, but that includes everything that goes on in town. What we're voting on tonight are only those ordinances, only those zones that are affected by any changes recommended to the master plan. But Mrs. Stillwell spoke before about that, she left, about R12. It's not mentioned in here tonight because there are no changes to that zone. So you can read all the ordinances that are here tonight, and those are the changes that are affecting those particular zones. If you wanted to get a picture of everything, I don't think there's anything about the industrial park in here. The uses that are
let me ask this question then. Is there anything being done by the board to curb the growth that's going on in Lakewood today, to manage it?
A lot of these ordinances that are going in, the very fact that a lot of the changes that people have requested or the board has seen fit to recommend aren't going to take place for several years until certain criteria, road widening, improvements, things like that take effect. So that should have an effect on slowing it down.
So will road road widening will accommodate more cars. Is there anything being done? And is there anything in this master plan to curb the rate at which Lakewood is growing?
Not specifically, it's not our, it's not like the township that uses township land to build homes. These are private individuals who own property.
I understand that.
Developers, they have a right to develop their land.
I've lived in other places where there are zoning regulations where you can't build on less than a 2-acre lot or 1-acre lot. That would curb some of the growth because there's only so much land. Does anything like that exist in Lakewood? Or
There are still some
people
1-acre zones. I think there's a small percentage of town that's still 2-acre. But for the most part, most of the residential development is on smaller plots, R20, R15, R12, R10.
So is anything being done to change that so that the growth is less growth or slow the growth?
The fact that a lot of these zoning changes will not take effect and that the higher density that is requested won't take effect for several years. That's, in essence, going to slow down some growth. But people still have a right to come in and develop according to the zone that they're in now, right now.
Thank you.
Brian Flannery, Jackson, New Jersey. I just want to say that this whole process from the start has focused on traffic congestion. And I noticed, because I read through all the pages in both the first reading and this one, as the mayor indicated, was only changed in 7 places to tighten up the language to make sure that the traffic congestion was dealt with before the changes go into effect. So I want to commend the planning board, the advisory committee, and this township committee for adopting ordinances to implement the master plan that does address the traffic congestion. Most of the people that come and object, they don't like traffic congestion. I don't think most of them had read all of the documents. And this particular document, Mr. Klein was kind enough to put online earlier today, so I had plenty of time to review it. I'm assuming if he got it at the township, anybody that went to the township could have reviewed it as well. But it was only those 7 places that changed. And those were all highlighted and very easy to see. So I commend everyone involved for the job they did.
Thank you, Brian. Aaron, do I have to call you by name? Or?
I need another minute.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? Okay. I'm sorry, only once per ordinance. I apologize.
Well, that's why you don't let me go back and use my minutes.
I'm sorry.
Myron Salzer, 17 Oasis Court. So, look, I've been here before a few times on this, to the council committee, to the master plan committees, the planning boards. So I'm not going to rehash all the arguments again, but I just want to echo what others before me have said, that there were significant changes, whether they were 7, the fact that Mr. Flannery feels the need to point out that they were minor, making me suspicious immediately. But I think the right thing to do, we've waited this long, we should go back, and there's a reason why there's a first and second reading, to give people some time to digest the document, especially the size of this. And the right thing to do is to just, this is different, it's changed, it goes back to the first reading and give us a chance to review it. But in general, that wasn't my main point. I think, as others before me have said, the arguments have been made already, I'm not going to rehash it. But 1 year ago, or a little more than a year ago, I believe, October of last year, each of you said publicly that you were against any plan that had more density in it. Now, whichever way you want to slice this, whether these density increases are tied to some provisions or anything else, it's still a plan that increases density when what we should have done is exactly the opposite. Now, I've spoken to each of you. I know you are aware of the problems behind it. And, the reasoning I've heard from some of you, Committeeman Leah from you, that, we have to work with both sides here, and we got to unite, and, not every, we're never going to please everyone, and all those arguments. The bottom line is, as the gentleman before me said, we've gone through who those 2 sides are. And every one of them, or 99% of them, of the speakers who came out pro, have self-interest. I think that's very obvious. It's obvious to you guys as well. Now, I don't blame them. If I was a developer, I would be doing exactly the same thing within the realm of the law. But you guys have to be you know, that you cannot have a conflict of interest. And to Mr. Lichtenstein's credit, he's not here tonight, although I would have liked for him to be here and say, I officially recused myself, but he didn't do that, that's fine. But the rest of you guys, I mean, everything is online these days, you're on camera. Years from now, and I gave the same speech to the planning board, people are going to be sitting in traffic even if we do the best job that we can. Now, we can stop all building today, and it's still going to be, it's going to get worse from here before it gets better. I think we all agree on that. And people are going to sit in traffic, and they're going to look whom to blame. And guess what? For every yes vote here, you are going to take the blame, whether right or wrong. Okay? And each one of you, you are a swing vote. Okay? And if you vote yes, you are going to go down in the Hall of Shame for causing an increase of traffic and, you know, a drop in the quality of our life. So again, I'm going to end with this. I'm not here to make a logical argument. It's all been made before, and I know you know in your hearts and minds what the right thing here is to do. But the bottom line is that you have a chance to do what's right now. If you don't do that, it's going to be your name. There's nobody else to blame. And the only other side that there is, and again, I've said this already many times, there's the money interest on the other side, there's everybody else, and we understand what the agenda of people who have their money at stake is, but we don't have an agenda, and by we I mean that 99% of this town, all we care about is protecting the quality of our life. Please do the right thing, I'm begging you.
Since I only get to speak once, I just wanted to get it all down.
You can speak again during the public session.
Yeah, but at that point, you'll have already voted. Okay, first of all, Aaron Hirsch, 146 Mountain View. I just wanted to know on the record, do any of you support tax increases for the Lakewood towns, for all the residents of Lakewood, property tax increases? Do any of you support that? Okay, I guess not, because this master plan, when you increase density, you are raising everyone's taxes, guaranteed. Let me just explain this. When you have ratables that is commercial, all they build and all they do is pay tax. They do not get street cleaning, snow cleaning, and garbage pickups, and busing, and then they need schooling. They don't need schooling. My neighborhood, you guys are about to pass that in the master plan to okay ratables that brings the township money that doesn't cost them a penny, only brings in money we're about to give away, and put tons of houses, taking one unit per 2 acres to 17 units per acre from conditional to permissible residential. This is insanity. I heard from someone over here, I've heard from many people, their taxes gone up through the roof. Now by passing the master plan, you are guaranteed, and it will hold it to you guys in the next elections. You guys are raising taxes on everyone on Lakewood. It's a fact. I've been begging for a fiscal impact study for the last year and a half. Fiscal impact study, for those that don't know, is for any development in most towns in New Jersey. They require you to do that, so this shows what the fiscal impact on the rest of the town. Who's picking up the bill for all of the increased density? This is out of control. No one, we're talking about transparency. There's no transparency. How much, before you increase everyone's density, give everyone a breakdown what their taxes are going up because of this. I have met so many people, their taxes have gone through the roof, and no one gives a darn about this. You need to stop being transparent and let everyone know. Start doing fiscal impact studies. This is out of control. Now, by voting tonight, I'm sorry?
Want a bottle of water?
Don't take off his time. He's good.
So basically, tonight, by voting yes, you're basically saying we are going to raise your taxes because, especially like in my neighborhood, you're taking commercial and turning it into residential. That's guaranteed raising everyone's taxes. Call it what it is. I'd like to quote Dale Carnegie. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Okay? There is a map. You're talking about increasing this town based on what I've seen. 100,000 people. Where are you going to put tens of thousands of kids in school? You need a heck of a lot of schools to fit those tens of thousands of kids. I don't see anywhere in this town or in the master plan where you're going to put this. this is failing to plan, because I don't see any plan. You're talking about tens of thousands of new kids. You need room. Where is this property that you're gonna allow, that they're gonna build these new schools? Where are you gonna make open public recreational space? Parks, you're talking about tens of thousands of kids. We, as is, every development I go through, they put 3 swings in for hundreds of kids. Does that make any sense? We're lacking parks, open space, people to, what are we begging these people, what are we giving people to move into? No recreational, the kids don't have, I mean, we want kids to have a life. I know, I don't think anyone wants bad for anyone else's kids, that they should have to suffer and not be able to have a place to play. We need more public space and open parks, and I don't see massive increases because we're talking doubling the size of this town. Now, I heard someone mentioning it also, I didn't miss I wanted anything on the master plan at every single meeting. I need one that has spoken up, I've seen it, has spoken up at the master plan. Anyone that spoke in favor of high density was connected to a developer. The excuse that they give is that we need it for our kids and our grandkids, we want them to live there. Lie, lie, lie. Give you evidence. This is not the first, this is one of many. There's an event this coming Sunday, all about Lakewood in Brooklyn. How they're going to convince everyone that they have to come to Lakewood to live in a high density. Why are they advertising? This is not the first event, and I can't decide that. They're begging people to come to Lakewood, but they say that we need it for our kids and grandkids. They're lying. Yes, we allow people to build, but let's not kill the density and kill the road. Last year you guys said, we're done. When you were mayor last year, October 6, 2016, you said we're at capacity, no more building, we're done, we're done, we're done. You all agreed to it. What happened? Where's the road improvement? What improvements have been done to Lakewood? Any of you can tell me what was improved since last year, October 6, 2016? I have only seen longer traffic. I remember a day when people showed up to work an hour late because of one accident on Cedar Bridge. What is being done? I don't see any change. And you, Mr. Lee, you ran on and said you're not going to increase density. I don't call this. You're going to raise everyone's taxes. You're going to vote for this. Any one of you going for this is increasing everyone's taxes. This has got to stop, and you've got to be transparent and stop doing a fiscal impact study. Let everyone know when you're going to increase density how much they are going to pay the price. Because everyone's taxes has gone up, and they will continue going up, and everyone will sit in traffic, and you're taking everyone's time to commute, to go across town. It will take them that much longer, and you're responsible for stealing their time, of their limited time in the day. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Is anything being heard at least?
Please don't yell out. Good evening, I'm Joe with Stephanie's Town Road. I'm actually happy that we put in the improvements, the condition. Now I have a question. If the NOA have to improve I'm not against high density as long as it's done in the right way, the right plan. So if the NOA is going to have to improve all the roads, so what's the rush to pass this ordinance now? It looks like, if everything in the paper is fine, but it looks like it's something hidden. If the road's not going to be improved the next month, so nobody can be, the ordinance is not going to take effect the next year, yes, especially if you require an entire area to be improved before anything else goes in effect. So what's the rush to pass it now?
The process, are you done speaking? I don't know. The process has been going on for a long time. The idea of tying any of these changes, all these changes were proposed months ago. It wasn't until maybe a couple of months ago or less that the idea came out that maybe, we should hold off allowing some of these changes to happen until the roads get improved. That's something that happened relatively recently. The same thing with a lot of the change from higher density down to the R12 standard. Those are things that were really just brought to the planning board in the last months of the process. So it's, like I said, going on for well over a year. Those changes were incorporated, and that's what we're voting on tonight.
But is any developer going to lose if you push it off, or at least make sure that the improvement is done, or at least started planning with the county or with the state?
There are other changes in there that don't require the road changes. There's a lot of
what kind of changes?
Detail. I don't have the top of my head, but there's other areas. Mr. Hirsch is unhappy about it, but some of the things that are going on over in that part of town. Not everything that's recommended by the master plan or the planning board require the roads to be widened. Specific areas that are called out in the zoning map. So we are finishing off the process. We've been working with the state for 8 to 10 years to get this plan endorsement process done. Part of that plan endorsement is the ordinance that's going to put a large, several hundred acres, if not, you know how many acres up there we're putting into preservation?
That's the government.
I think the number was
mentioned before, it's on 700.
Right, but that's all tied to this ordinance. I understand that they're related. The reason Mr. Robinson said before, why did we first read this months ago, is that the state insisted that we do it. I didn't want to do it that far apart. The state wanted to see it so that they knew that we were moving ahead with it. So these are all tied together, and that's why we're doing these 4 at the same time tonight.
Is it impact fees also part of the ordinance, because it was rumors that they didn't put any impact fees?
As I said before, part of the town, I think the Oak Street Corps has the impact fees assessed to it already. We are in the process of putting the entire town with impact fees. We talked about that, I don't know if you were here earlier when we mentioned that, but it's not part of this tonight. It's a separate ordinance that's being worked on by Mr. Hensel. We were waiting to get some feedback from the shore builders who sued us the last time. But again, we're going to proceed with that early in the year.
Sorry, technically a bullet can come in tomorrow with plans and everything, and the ordinance passed. The impact fees didn't pass yet, so he's getting grandfathered in.
I agree.
And we stick with the bill.
I'd much rather have that now, but again, it's all going to be part of the same thing. And some of those changes are also tied to the impact fees. That's how it's affected, for the future changes. But that's why I want to get it done at the beginning part of the year. I'm frustrated that it hasn't been done already. As are the rest of the township.
Is Route 9 also part of this improvement or not?
Yes, it's in there as well.
So that technically means that no zoning going to be changed before Route 9 to 5? I mean,
the language that the planning board put in is that improvements have to be made or widening has to be done so that an independent traffic study grades it as a Class C roadway. Whatever, I don't know how many cars per hour, whatever that means, but.
so technically you're saying that it's never going to happen because the state's not widening Route 9?
It's not true. The state's already committed to come in and do a lot of intersection improvements, turning lanes, lights, and the full widening or dualization, however you want to refer to it, is on their books. They're in the early stages of doing the environmental, the engineering, and the cost analysis of it. That's a huge project. That's going to take years, but they did say that they would come in and do the improvements to a lot of the intersections in town, which is really where the bottlenecks are, similar to what they did on Route 9.
But as long as it's not done, sorry to interrupt you, but
No, sure.
as long as it's not done, at least nobody going to be able to go to
correct
to like approval or something like that. Okay, hope it's all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Am I getting an answer from you?
You walked away, I'm sorry. I'll talk to you after the meeting.
No, before you put it,
Please don't call on. All right, seeing nobody else, we'll close the public hearing on this ordinance.
Hold on.
I will unclose the public hearing for this speaker.
Joseph Navid, 9 Temple Road in Lakewood. I never really came to township committee meetings. I came once last year after I went to a master plan density subcommittee meeting. And after I'd attended that meeting, I did some research on the people that were there, and I came to the conclusion, which other people have mentioned, that the people that are there are all financially interested in the development of the town. So at that point, I got up in front of the township committee here, and that was the only township committee meeting I ever came to, and I asked, why is it that that is the case? And Mayor Lichtenstein gave me an answer, and Mr. D'Elia, you answered me that that's something that needs to be investigated. And I took that to mean that there was a commitment that you made to drain the swamp. And it doesn't seem that that happened. It seems like the people that are on the master plan committee are still people that are all financially interested in development of the town. And I just want to know why that never took place, and then why really the master plan should just be null and void, because it doesn't represent the interests of the people.
You want an answer?
Yes.
I was advised that that was so.
Okay. Take a look. I mean, I don't want to go through necessarily people by name. I mean, there are some of those people are represented here in this room, or they work here at the back room. So they can speak for themselves. But certain people don't really belong in that committee. Okay.
Thank you. So I'll keep the meeting unclosed.
Please add approval. for energy.
Speak up, please. Excuse me a second. I need you to speak into the mic a little bit more, but I need the sidebar conversations to stop, please. If you need to speak to each other, please take it outside so that people can be heard. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all your time and effort and energy for making Lakewood such a beautiful place and trying to get it back together. I just wanted to ask something about this. The planners identify certain areas where they think it would be good to change the zoning. So if that's obviously that's something that the planners did. My question is, if that certain areas that are waiting for the road improvement, if those areas have a traffic study right now, and they're not going to cause traffic above sea level, they still have sea level. In other words, it's not going to have an impact on the roads within the whole mile of a road, let's say. Is that something to consider, by making a stop and saying that we have to wait to change the zoning for the whole area until all the road construction? It's like putting saying that we're not doing any rezoning and we're waiting for the smart growth, which that's supposed to be smart. Like for example, it said Route 88 is not part of any roads, fixing any roads, and for some reason that was excluded from fixing any roads. Well, what about the areas that need to be fixed roads, and if that area doesn't cause traffic above sea level? Can that be included in the ordinance to say that if this is a small area of development, changing the zone, it's not going to cause an impact of traffic, and that could be taken, that the zone should have to wait for the whole area to be, traffic should be fixed, all the areas, especially when this area is not causing any evaluation of traffic. If, like I did a traffic study in a certain area, and traffic said it's sea level, it's sea level, and the township have to check by their engineer to see if it is so, and if it's not affecting the area, impacting the area, so and it's recommended to change the zone. Is that something the township, the committee would consider to say that the zone could be changed right away?
Yeah, we can consider that tonight as part of this ordinance. I did check on that after our phone conversation. So that's something that will have to wait. You'd have to present plans to the planning board. That's all we could do on that. We can't make that kind of change.
It's something that can't be presented in the future.
People, again, we can't tell people what they can and cannot take to the planning board. The planning board has their own criteria as to what constitutes a correct application. And if they deem that it's not something that they should hear, they would refer to go to the zoning board.
No, but the question is, if the zone is not changed, so one can go to the planning board, right? It's only if the zone is changed. But if the zone is not causing any traffic and any high traffic, it's within normal traffic flow, is that something that, like Route 88, the zone is changed over there because it's not affecting that area, not affecting the traffic zone. The question is, if this area, this development is not affecting the traffic zone, it's not affecting the traffic, can that be included to say it's like Route 88?
Like I said, I can't make that change in this ordinance. It's something you would have to take up with one of the boards after.
But it's not something that I can
I'm sorry, it would constitute a major change. It's not something we could consider. Right, I'm sorry. Last time?
Can I give this lady my minutes?
No, sorry. All right, we'll close the public hearing on this. Gentlemen, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Mike. Second by Manoj. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Committeeman Ackerman.
No.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes.
Ordinance carries.
Ordinance number 4.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 18 entitled the Unified Development Ordinance of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood to implement the 2017 Lakewood Township Master Plan by creating and adopting standards for the plan development non-contiguous cluster overlay zone.
Anybody like to be heard on this ordinance?
Moshe Zionis, 112 Conference Boulevard, Lakewood, New Jersey, 071. I just want definition. I was going to ask Mr. Scott earlier, but I don't want to ask him for the record. Contiguous is a pretty big word. And cluster. So,
Marty to explain what it means?
no, I said I didn't want to ask him coming off the record, so I'm just coming up now.
Okay, sure. Marty, could you give a brief explanation?
The entire ordinance or just non-contiguous?
No, that's what it means.
Yeah, okay, non-contiguous. Typically, cluster ordinances are within, you would cluster or develop only a part of the tract and preserve another part of the tract, all within one tract or one parcel. Non-contiguous means that you would build on a tract, but you don't, and then you preserve another piece of land that would be not part of that parcel, non-contiguous, separated. So it's different in different areas. Could be in the same neighborhood, down the street, or could be a different part of town. So that meaning non-contiguous. And cluster meaning just to preserve certain areas and build a little closer, so that you would have less street frontage and less roads to plow and maintain, so that's the benefit of a smaller footprint.
I'm just trying to understand, because I saw on that map, like there's a whole area of town that would be part of this non-contiguous cluster zone. People develop land when they develop this. It looks like there's one map of like a whole area that could somebody connect out. I just don't understand, because you could have that map overlays, if that's the correct term, it has of different zones. So if you have like an R12 near an R10, what's what clustering?
Well, it has to do with that. And I could probably explain this, afterwards on what the ordinance is all about, but with more detail. But it's as you said, it's an overlay. It has to do with CAFR permits to meet CAFR permits, and it's for tree sage requirements. That's all it does.
Oh, so the whole point of this ordinance is really just for the CAFR that
they're only applied to the CAFR permit, so it's not something, but it's done through the planning board process.
Is it creating any new zones?
No, it's only in the sense that it creates overlay zones, but it does not change anything.
Great, thank you. That's why I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else like to speak on this ordinance?
The last time I was here.
I need you to name
Again? The last time I came here, I spoke about.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to. Closer to the microphone.
The last time I was here, I spoke about how homeowners were struggling to find tenants and how the rents have gone down drastically due to the incredible number of available apartments. When I spoke last June, there were 9 apartments available in my development and have been sitting vacant for about 6 months to a year. Now, 6 months later, I'm happy to report that one of those apartments has been rented, so now there's only 8 left. Around the corner from me, there's a massive development being built, Oak and Vine. It's a monstrosity that stretches from Route 9 all the way to Vine and from Oak all the way to the presidential estates. I was told that 600 houses are going up. Is that correct, or am I underestimating?
I don't remember the exact number of that.
Am I in the ballpark with 600?
300 duplexes, so yeah.
Plus basements.
Plus basements. Thank you. That's what I want to talk about. It's a mini city in an area of town that is incredibly congested already. I want to ask you something. What do you think is going to happen if even half of those 600 houses decide to rent out their brand new basements? What do you think is going to happen to my neighborhood, to the neighborhoods all around me, who are not brand new?
First, you should be speaking on the ordinance that's in front of us, but I'll let you continue. So.
The planning board recommended that you not do this, but you're telling me that you're going to tie the traffic, the improvements with the density. Is that correct?
Say that part again.
The planning board has said that they wanted traffic improvements, the widening of Route 9 and all those other streets, and it was gonna be tied to the density. And you said that was put back in.
Correct.
Okay. Because, you know, I spoke about how hard it is, you know, to turn out from my street. The firefighters spoke about how long it takes for them to get to, you know, the fire and how every second counts. We had somebody from the senior community speak about how long it takes the ambulance to get there, and I think she said it was something like 45 minutes. So we don't just need the roads to be widened, we need the building to stop completely. There is too much, there's just too much. We're squashed in like cockroaches. There's nowhere to go. And I don't know why, you know, what we have to do is that get you to understand that you can't just widen the street and just then keep building. It just needs to stop completely. Can you answer? Are you just going to keep building?
I'm letting you speak, I'm sorry.
I will give you a few seconds of my time to tell me, are you just going to keep building, or what's going to happen when we widen the street?
Again, I actually voted against that development that you're speaking on at Oakland Farm, because I didn't think it was an appropriate development over there. But at the end of the day, private homeowners, private property owners are legally entitled to build. We can't stop them.
Okay.
It's just, it's the
Can you
way it is.
Can you stop selling the land to the developers?
We are not. The only land this committee has sold over the last several years is for schools, so that schools can be built, because I agree with the speaker before. I think the biggest challenge facing this township is having enough space to adequately educate all the children. So I have not voted to do anything, maybe a small parcel that was adjacent to something that was undersized. None of the developments that are going up on property that Lakewood Township has sold. Again, we have been selling land to nonprofits to build schools. And that's pretty much it. These developments are not there.
Could we get, right here, right now, could we solve the problem? It's a very easy solution. All undeveloped land in Lakewood Township should be zoned R40 for the next 20 years. 1 house per acre. That's it. Could we do
I don't
that?
see that happening.
Think about it for a little bit. I'm serious. This is crazy what is going on here. I cannot get out of my block. Forget making a left turn, I can't even make a right turn to get out. It's crazy what is happening here, and you just keep building and building. When will it stop? Does everybody in Brooklyn have to move here before you stop? Is that what we're doing? We're emptying out Brooklyn? Muncie, let's just invite everybody in. Could we seriously stop the building? No more high density. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Once again, Mayor, members of the committee, Frederick W. Robinson, 79 Eagle Ridge Circle, related to the ordinance at hand. A question that I asked 3 or 4 times at the public hearings on the master plan itself, and I anxiously await an answer. And had I been provided an answer, I wouldn't see the need to put this on the record tonight. Related to this non-contiguous cluster ordinance, again, my usual confused state, it appears that a privately owned piece of land to be developed by a private developer can use publicly owned land and designate it as the off-site open space. And if that is correct, I ask you, why is land that every taxpayer in this township owns being used to benefit a for-profit developer? So the question is, can publicly owned lands be used in the calculations of the cluster development and resulting open space?
Gentlemen?
Yeah, go ahead, Marty. I'll probably talk to you more.
Can it be used as part of, no, I think part of the easement that's going to preserve those properties, that cannot be used as part of the calculation for the development area, and it's only to be used for tree-safe purposes, to meet the tree-safe purposes under a per capita permit.
That is not
paid for, correct?
What's that?
Would the township be compensated for that?
Yes.
That's the monetization, that's a subsequent ordinance to come forward.
Yeah, to preserve those in perpetuity.
Well, again, we're talking about a monetization in a subsequent ordinance. That's not what is in the master plan, and that's not what in these ordinances. And we should not be, with all due respect, adopting an ordinance with an anticipation of a future ordinance or future change. While it may be legal to use publicly owned lands in concert with private development, it's typically for greater public good. A classic example, although controversial, is an arena. Lots of people go to the arena. I don't think any publicly owned land should be used to benefit a private developer's opportunity to increase density in a specific area through a cluster proposal. I don't think it's appropriate. It's questionably legal. And again, for those reasons, I think it warrants tabling this until there's a clear understanding of just what the burden is that's being placed on all of the people that own this publicly owned land. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know this is a done deal. I'm sorry to put you all to sleep. A couple of you already dozing off. Feel bad.
Sleeping? No,
Yeah,
it's not sleeping.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I know we're boring because we're saying the same thing over and over again. My question is this. You claim that everything is pre-approved. You couldn't do anything about it. Are you going to say that 6 months from now? Are you going to say that a year from now? What are you doing about it? You were voted in. We had no choice. Because I think even the vote was planned. We had to drain the swamp with the way they're doing in Washington today with all the courts and the FBI. Is that what we have to get to Lakewood? Are you hearing us? We're crying, we're in pain. We're telling you year after year and nothing is being done. Tell me one thing that's being done. You widen the streets, you don't have an agenda, you have no plans, no dates, nothing. We're just shutting you up, we're widening the streets. What is being done? I want answers. Please, anybody? Thank you. Anybody? From a year ago, you're sitting here, I still have no answers.
There are several traffic improvements that are in the works now. Washington where it meets Pine, a couple other areas that we're widening. There's several lights to improve intersections.
I live by Washington and Pine. I'm sorry. I haven't seen any improvement.
I know. I said it's in process. It's under the engineering study. Sometime in 2018. We don't have the final bid specs yet, so we haven't put it out to bid. But it's included in our plan for next year.
Okay, and the main thing is I wait from Pine River, almost Somerset, to get to anything being done about that?
Well, lights going up there too, but we're hoping that Vine Street will get the approval to go through, which will give us another little bit of a north-south intersection artery in town.
Vine Street from which area? From where?
Pine to Spruce to Pine? Pine to Cedar. I'm looking for ways that we can widen the end of Pine Street where it meets New Hampshire. Looking to what we can do within the state when it comes in to improve the intersections down that way. We'll do some work over there to try and widen it to make the traffic flow across 9 and through there a little bit easier. So it's nothing that I can tell you.
That was the last year also. Is there any dates, any plans also that's in the work?
The state is going to do a lot of those intersections late 2018 into 2019. They were going to come through and pave the road and then come in and do the changes, but we asked them not to do that because it would just be putting the people in Lakewood through it twice.
Are you going to stop the building? You're not going to stop it?
I told you before, it is not something that I can say we can stop building. It is privately owned.
It's not you, it's we. People are crying, people are getting into accidents. It's ridiculous, and you're still building. How could that be? And most people are not even moved into their houses. Do you see what's going behind Evergreen, the supermarket, that little development over there? What's going to happen when everybody moves in? Do you see? I dropped my son by James. They built so many houses over there, little cul-de-sacs over there with one way out. What's going to happen when they all move in? This is nothing but we have now the traffic. Think about a year from now when everybody moves in. How are you? I don't understand. It doesn't take much to see that this town is going down the drain. What does it take to see? Why can't you stop it? Why won't you stop it? I want an answer. Why?
I told you, the township committee does not sell the property for development. Development is going up on privately held parcels that people have a right to develop. It's not a law that I can just shut off whenever I want to.
You can't shut it off. You can change it. You could do something about it. We're not gonna keep on using the same excuse every year and every month that we come to these meetings. So do something about it. That's what you were voted in for. Is that okay? Yes, you're doing it, or yes?
I'm hearing what you're saying, doing what we can do. This is our first step, and to be honest, you really should be speaking about the ordinance in front of us. So can you please?
About the what? Or something?
You're only supposed to be speaking on the non-contiguous development ordinance. That's the.
I just want to make sure that I'm on record.
That's why I
and
allowed
I'm
you to
clear,
speak on it.
And we have to bring people to see what's going on here because nothing is being done, that's for sure.
Speak again by the public session.
Oh, okay, I see how it is. Yes, we welcome everybody to speak.
Hi, Aaron Hirsch. Just for the record, you could do something about it. You just did something about it. You just increased density. By increasing density, you just said that you can't do anything about it. You just increased density for Lakewood, and that just increased the amount of people that would be on the road. You do have control over it. Yes, private people you can't stop them from building. I agree you can't, but we cannot, by allowing them to by giving them higher density, you just created a worse situation. So yes, you guys did have the power, you just blew it, and the people will, I can assure you, the people will be speaking loudly. I'm telling you, the sentiment is growing. People are sick and tired. I'm telling you, I'm trying to be nice about it, but I'm telling you, tick-tock, tick-tock. Oh, by the way, I forgot, this is very important.
Does it have to do with the non-contiguous?
Yeah, it has to do with, because
somebody
all this stuff has to do with going to zoning, to planning boards and stuff, zoning boards. I was at the planning board the other week. Mr. Bond, it's important you hear this point.
I think it's important the visit he's making right now.
No, that's the other side. That's just the background. I was at the planning board the other week, and a school on Cross Street actually came in with a traffic study that said all of these traffic studies are manipulated. So if you guys go off the traffic studies, it's a load of garbage. They want you to know it's all a load of garbage. They're playing you. A traffic study. I saw myself at the planning board the other week. It just passed second reading last week. And some of the planning board members are here. You can ask them if it's true, if it passed. Yes, a school actually gave a traffic study on Cross Street that's A. If anyone can get an A or a B or a C on Cross Street, anything can be manipulated.
Thank you. Marcia, were you going to speak? No. Okay. Anybody else? Seeing nobody, will close the public hearing on this. Oh, we have a motion. I forgot. It's been so long. Is there a motion on this ordinance? Move it. Moved by Mike. Second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call.
Committeeman Ackerman.
No.
Committeeman Delia.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Mayor Coles.
Yes. Thank you
Ordinance
all.
carries.
Okay. We're going to open. Does anybody need a break? No. All right, we're going to open it short because I want you all here. Open the meeting to the public. Anybody who'd like to be heard, please come to the microphone. Comments for 4 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Richard Margaret, 32 Caroline Drive, Lakewood. I was here a couple months ago about not traffic. I don't mind traffic. Public makes me as okay as you guys are right now. But really about one of the byproducts of traffic, of the density is traffic. The other one, at least on our street, is the danger of cars bypassing Central. I made a map of Paraneta. Can I pass it out to you guys? Please. Okay. You like one?
You get it? Keep it on file. It's operable, right?
Paraneta, as you can see, is a very winding road, and that doesn't really do justice to what is, because on every cross section, there's blind spots, and the street is really not straight. So when you're coming, cars have to go this way. And I've seen many times where I was on the corner of Freeman with my daughter waiting for the bus, and a car was coming straight at us because it didn't realize that as you're coming this way, you have to kind of veer to.
Folks, would you please stop the sidebar conversations? Thank you.
First of all, I'm sorry, when I was here 2 months ago, you guys said you'd be out there the next day, and you were. Traffic control was out there the next day, and I appreciate it. I called your office, and I thanked you for it. I don't know if you got the message. But I have also actually called a number of times since that, because my house is very strategically positioned that I could see the danger of the traffic more than any other house.
So I called your secretary and I explained to her that I was very grateful to what was done. They made some of the speed signs larger, they added some signs that painted slow in the road, which is already faded. But it's just not enough because every day I'm out there looking and too many cars are speeding. So traffic is not a fun thing to sit in. It's an inconvenience and sometimes very stressful. But what's happening on Carinetta is because of the density and people trying to avoid the traffic on Central, cars are being turned into dangerous weapons, no different than a gun and bullets. And as a resident of Carinetta with small children, that's unacceptable. Carinetta has a number of blind spots, and also the other problem is that the cars that bypass Central, they're probably entering Carinetta from Davis and Kimball. And I've actually observed that it's not really from the Sunset so much it is, but mostly Davis and Kimball. Well, they're speeding down, and by Bradshaw's where they really pick up speed because it stops winding. There's a straightaway there until you get to past Freeman, and then once you get past Freeman, it really turns into a snake. And then they get rewarded because they get to the end of Carinetta to enter back into Central. Now, nobody coming onto Central from Route 9 is making a left on Carinetta, certainly not during traffic times because there's just too much traffic. So the only traffic going from on Carinetta, at the end of Carinetta, going on to Central, are people that have bypassed Central, now getting back, they want to get back on Central to get to Route 9. So what's happened is because it widens at the very end, it's actually turned into a 3-lane road. So I've observed this myself, and I've asked people please to make sure to get in line. So they're rewarded because there used to be, you can still see the two white lines that are now very faded. You barely can see them, but they are still there, but nobody driving could ever see them. So you have cars that are lined three lanes to try to get back onto Central. So they're rewarded for their speeding to get back into Central when they get back onto Central because there's 3 lanes there. So my own car, since I've been here, was ran into by a speeding car who fortunately, nobody was hurt, but my car was probably over $1,000 to $1,500 in damage. They paid to fix the car and didn't file a claim, but I could certainly prove that it was fixed. There was an officer, a very nice officer, who came out to my house a number of times. While we were standing there, he had to stop at least 2 or 3 cars, and one car told me to turn around because the car almost went onto my driveway. So I'm asking all of you to please, traffic is a horrible thing, but the cars are turning into a dangerous weapon on our street, and I stand there, last thing, across the street there's little children, and I'm terrified that a speeding car, especially right at that point, because it gets very fast there, I'm terrified what could happen. So
I will speak to the chief tomorrow morning.
There needs to be some colored signs, some yellow signs, some red signs.
We'll figure out if there's some kind of traffic calming. What's the speed limit on there right now?
It's 20, I think 25. But really something that I put X's on really Bradshaw is where they pick up speed because it turns into a straightaway.
We can avoid having traffic turn onto Carinetta.
No, you know what? I'd say have all the traffic come on Carinetta. Have it bumper to bumper. I'd rather than, no, I'm not joking. And the neighbors feel the same way. I'd rather have bumper to bumper than have these guys speeding 40, 50, 60 miles an hour sometimes to try to get to the front of the line. Thank you very much.
I know I have your email address, I think, from previous email.
I don't think so.
If you could give it to Katie before you leave.
Thank you very much.
May I say something on this?
Yeah, of course.
I'm very familiar with it, living where I live. This has become a disaster. He's absolutely correct. What they're doing is they're cutting down off of Central to Carinetta and speeding and then coming right out onto Central Avenue without even stopping. There's been a couple of accidents there, and there's been many near accidents. We have a problem there that we're going to have to address.
But and also, again, at the end of Carinetta, it turns into a 3-lane road. There are 3 back there trying to get back on the Central.
I see it.
And they're nice people. They don't even realize because there's no deterrent.
So I'm going to do the chair, Mr. Mayor. I'm pretty sure you're aware, but when Central backs up and Waze takes people around onto Carinetta.
I don't have
and it tells them to cut in.
Let them.
Let them.
But
Yeah, but that's part of the problem.
Speeding. No, I don't have any problem
people
with
in a rush.
I don't have any problem with it. And the neighbors don't either. We just don't want the speeders. We just don't want the reckless drivers. And again, my car's been hit just since I've been here. So it's very dangerous, and that's what, I don't care, let it be bumper to bumper, but stop the stage. Thank you.
What's your last name again, sir? Email address or phone?
Royce, you speak up, please.
Stay on the side, you can hear it in the mic.
979-7444.
You don't want to give it the pop.
Moshe Zaynis,
Sit down.
112 Elmhurst Boulevard, Lakewood, New Jersey, 08701. So I'll say two quick thank yous and then a comment. One to Mayor Coles. I spoke to you several times about the planning board agendas, and other people have come up here throughout the last year also about that. You said that you would get working on making sure that the addresses are in the agendas. I heard from Ali that you were specifically the one who made it happen. So thank you. They are being done. They're also being done by the clerk's office. When the agendas come to you, also I see the addresses are there. It is a big help. So thank you very much. Another thing which is a little maybe indirect to you, but you are the liaison to Public Works, so I'm going to send it over here. I live on a block that has a small party hall on it, and often at night, cars park everywhere. But many years ago, the Township Committee passed an ordinance that our side of the road will have no parking allowed on it. I spoke to Sergeant Work about it several months back. Unbeknownst to me, someone else, I actually sent him pictures. Unknown to me, someone else on my block also contacted him. He came out, and Public Works at that time painted right and left turn lanes from Elmhurst to Route 9. They also painted no parking at the corner. Then Sergeant Works spoke to me. He asked me if that was enough. I told him that it wasn't. And this afternoon, Public Works finally got through traffic to come back to our road. They painted wonderful no parking signs. They actually came on the day when garbage day was, so they had to work around the cans. I think they came to actually help us. Right, that's very good. They moved the cans aside to make sure. So we had very nice no parking signs. So again, you're the liaison to Public Works, and thank you. One other comment, unfortunately, Committee isn't here, he would probably know the answer best. I believe that the township at some point within the last year or so discussed changing the times when construction is allowed on the roads. I'm not sure if there was ever an ordinance that came here or if it was just a discussion. I remember when William Street was blocked up like for several weeks. Committeeman Lichtenstein pushed that they should have it open at least while the school buses go through. I'm just asking, has there ever been talk of an ordinance change? Because right now the way it stands is at 9 o'clock in the morning, you can have construction trucks on the road, but we have crossing guards out there on this road at the same time. Between 9:30, the school buses are out. Has there ever been any talk of like changing it to 10 or?
Most of the talk has to do with stopping them from getting to work very early and disturbing people while they're sleeping. 9 o'clock is usually considered, start of business for most people. So I'm not sure if there's a state regulation as to when, construction is allowed to start or stop. But
there is a local law.
Control over when trucks, can.
I'll look into it. It depends on whether or not you have the police powers to control.
That's what I'm saying. Let's see if there is a time, that can be imposed. You have a good point. I mean, the trucks out there with school buses and crossing guards and kids.
It's just like
it's a concern.
I do believe the way it stands now, I don't know the exact times, but I know I drive on the road at 7 o'clock now. The trucks are out there, but at some point, it looks like they hide from 8 to 9 or something. I'm not exactly sure what time. I do believe that there is a law now. I just don't know the exact time. Sometimes.
We'll look into it. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, I'm still Frederick W. Robinson, and I still live at 79 Eagle Ridge Circle. very quickly, I realize that in all of the work that the staff and the committee does, it's tough to focus on one specific issue unless it becomes an emergent public safety issue. Several months ago, if you remember me, I wrote to you expressing a concern about the parking on Cross Street and the hitchhiking. Since just in the last month, we've had another head-on collision on Cross Street. I didn't say a head-on collision, I said another. And even though it's a county road, the county has said to me, if the township will establish a no parking ordinance, they'll happily agree to it. So we've got a chicken and the egg. Who's going to go first? The county's saying, you folks go first, and they'll consent to it. I'd ask you to consider, even before the widening or dualizing of Cross Street, that you put in place a no parking ordinance on Cross Street for the safety of our young, primarily young men, but young women, men and women in the community. Secondarily, I'd ask you to consider, and I know there's been several court cases about this, look into the ability of our police force to enforce a no hitchhiking rule. One of the head-on collisions, I am told, was a byproduct of an individual trying to avoid young men hitchhiking who were standing in the street. These are emerging conditions that I believe deserve to be addressed sooner than later. Thank you very much.
Tom, for this traffic and safety, take a look across and see if there's some areas where we can recommend no parking at. And when I talked to the chief about carrying that out, I mentioned hitchhiking. Something that I've been pushing with a lot of folks for a long time. I don't want to get into a discussion, I'm just saying,
No.
I will look into it. I don't like seeing the men out there doing it,
And it's appreciated, Mayor. Kids will be kids, but we have to think about their safety. Thank you.
Mayor, I know that since you have said that, the mayor has contacted the PD, the chief, and traffic. I have noticed that police cars, when they see it, are on the PA ordering them off the street. So they are trying, but we have to do more.
Vigilance, I
We
think, is
have
the
to
key
do
word.
more. Yeah.
Being in Joey, I want to get more information about the ordinance.
To the mic, it's a little bit.
More information about the N6 ordinance, vacating part of East Kennedy Boulevard. I spoke to them on the first reading. The bike path for East Kennedy Boulevard.
Not the first read, it's the linear
N6.
park. Linear park was supposed to be Oak Street. No, I have it.
No, that's-
No, this is the first read. This is the first read ordinance. On East Kennedy.
It's about the bike path. So she said about the bike path on East Kennedy from Twin Oaks all the way till Brook Road.
Right.
Now, about vacating streets, at least you're keeping a 60 feet or whatever it is, 70 feet right away for the future opening Kennedy Boulevard. Now, since you're opening Kennedy, since you are making a bike path for Kennedy, we at least make it together with opening up Kennedy from Twin Oaks, at least till Brook Road. Is something which you consider?
Yeah, I intend to ask to carry this ordinance tonight, so.
I'm not trying to push it out. I don't want to
No,
make
no, I need
it
more information on it. I had so many other things on my mind. I may have thought this was one thing and another when we agreed to put it on the agenda, so I need to study it more. This has come up several times in the past, and
Feel sorry, I didn't have, but at least once, if you're doing a bike path, at least do the entire road. Maybe you should do it together with the township, open up from Twin Oaks all the way.
actually, it was, I think, to take some of the excess from Kennedy Boulevard, where the county decided not to put it through years ago, to still leave the full right-of-way for the roadway, but there was stuff on either side that they wanted to turn into a bike path. I think it's another 50 feet.
Fine,
So
I'm okay with that. It's actually probably going to help if it's open up the Kennedy. If that's going to make you guys opening up Kennedy Boulevard, fine, so be it.
Kennedy will be open probably when the developers who own the property along there start to want to develop it. We own the part along.
There's only like a
Brook
small
Road.
stretch, not even 1,000 feet. I don't know how much it costs to pay 1,000 feet, but I'm sure you follow the horse, we'll be able to do it, or whatever it is. And it will alleviate the traffic on the entire county line. I'm not talking about the tracks, which separate, to open by the tracks. Any answer? I know the township sent a letter to the state about.
Yeah, they said no. Actually, the train, because of the way the crossings go, they wouldn't allow it. But I know Committeeman Lichtenstein was still intent on getting it done, so he may have made some more comments.
And I actually was sitting with him and saying that too short of a crossage between for the track. There's enough areas in New Jersey, for example, Long Branch, you have much shorter intersections. So I assume it's just like they're lazy to open it.
Part of the problem is I know the railroad is mad at us because so many people, and especially children, are fascinated when the trains come by that the engineers feel that it's unsafe when they cross
another intersection.
Right. So,
but still, it's for the entire interest, for the best interest of the entire town.
I'll argue the point.
Tonight, I can talk about anything.
It's your 4 minutes.
Okay, I just would also like to get some type of answer. First of all, I'm sorry, my name is Mr. Aaron Hirsch. 1.6 Mountain View. Still hasn't changed from last.
I know, but I don't think I got it the last time.
Taking up his time.
How could we start the clock? Okay, is there anything we could do about, it's not been a number of times, I go to drop off the public area by the DPW, the containers, it closes way early. It's done at 3 o'clock. Why is it shut down so early? Is there a possibility, there's a lot of people in this town do work and do things, is there any possibility that one day you can open for a couple hours later, maybe you could, is
Now
it
that
free
we have it,
project?
I can ask. I mean, we don't have.
Because most people work and it just as,
That's one of the reasons we open it up on Sundays as well, is so that people who couldn't get there, obviously on Saturday.
So it is open on
I'll
Sunday.
talk to Pat Conley.
Yeah, maybe at least before.
But a lot of the workers, the union workers, their schedules are called out, so we need to see. I'll ask if we can do it. I agree, because
Yeah,
I find myself running out of
stuff
blocks to get over there.
Okay. Now, with regards to, so hopefully you walk it down later, so you reach out to them, see what we can do as far as those hours. That's really a thought. It's happened to me many times. Okay, so now back to the most pressing issues here. I'm just curious, honestly, what has changed in Lakewood in the last year besides heavier traffic that we're increasing density? I didn't get an answer from anyone, really. I'm pretty, as a concerned citizen, you guys are great people in personal life. I always speak to you guys are nice people. But I don't get this thing. We're raising everyone's taxes. I have a neighbor around the corner from me, his taxes has tripled in the last 7 or 8 years. I mean, what's going on? I mean, we are stuck sitting, I have a family member that crosses town from my neighborhood to the other side of town. Her travel time is about to double. I mean, as it takes her an hour. With all this increased housing, higher density, I mean, I get it, people are entitled to develop their properties, but do we have to give them speed to increase the amount of units on the property? I mean, what's changed in Lakewood that it's okay now to have such increased density and get rid of our rateables as well? We went from 1 unit on 2 acres to 34 units on 2 acres. Just in my neighborhood alone, we just lost rateables. I guess that's my answer. There is no answer. I'm sorry, we really need to stop representing the people of Lakewood. It's sad. It's sad to me. You guys are good people. And why are you doing this to us? I don't understand. It bothers me. It really does hurt me. I really hope that, by the way, I want to thank Mr. Ackerman for voting for this, because this is really what it should be. You absolutely educate people, and the average person in this town that is not benefiting financially from this is against it. And we're just destroying it. There's not going to be anything left soon.
waiting on our neighbors, neighbor towns, are passing ordinances that are illegal. They don't want to be like us. They're terrified of what's happening here. We gotta slow it down. People need quality of life. We can't keep going like this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Hybrun. I live in 21 Vilma Lane, Lakewood, New Jersey, by the new development over there. I recently put down a deposit for a house in Oak and Vine. Over there, they have a pocket park near my house. I heard that they want to build in the back by my window. They want to build a park for children. I agree that we need a park for children when we build so many houses. But I would not like it should be in the back of my window. And I live now, in the back of my house now, I have a park. And it's very annoying when I want to put my little kids to sleep and I can't put them to sleep. So if something could be done, the park should be not between the houses, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you. I know it's called a park, but it's not like it's going to be playgrounds and swing sets and stuff. It's a walking path of just green between the streets.
So the walking path is very good, but as I heard, that it's also going to be some sort of playing things between the walking path near my house. It's under my window. So I would really like, if it's only the walking path, it's not bothering me. People are walking also on the street. It's very good, but the playground in the back of my window, the few crops that they're going to have over there, this is going to be the place the children are going to get together. And I'm a teacher, so I know what children are all about.
Okay, we'll talk to the developers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Can you get me the plans for what they intend for those?
Yeah, it's supposed to be passive walk, like you said, Mayor.
I want to see the plans. I want to see what they have on it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Martin Weber. I made the application to the township on the Kennedy Boulevard bike path. The mayor said that he would consider postponing it. I would kindly, respectfully request if there's any way that we could have the first reading tonight, as I have been working on this a very, very long time. We actually made the first application last year. We spent a lot of money on engineering, traffic studies, and everything else. The plan has been the same from day one. Nothing has changed. The basis of the plan is that there is an encroachment from my subject property running into the right-of-way, which can't be used as right-of-way anyways. So we're leaving the right-of-way in place where we've done all the studies, including the option if Kennedy Boulevard would go all the way through to Ridge, what the impact would be with how many cars would be passing, turning lanes out to Brook Road and to Ridge and everything else. The township engineer signed off on it. We had an outside traffic engineer. They were okay with it. And finally, we came to a resolution. We have a plan here. We're at the end of the year right now. If we don't have first reading right now, we're again going to next year again.
I'm going to let it go through. I was just thrown a little bit. I've been so concentrated on the other stuff that I slipped on this one. So I can get my questions answered between first and second reading.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You could touch base with the other gentleman that spoke here.
Yes, I did.
Get your act, you know.
No, he's okay. He's actually okay with it. His request is that Kennedy should actually get paved all the way through.
All the way through.
He likes what's happening. He just wants it actually to go all the way through as a secondary roadway to county line. Thank you.
Nobody else?
Klein, come on, it's been months.
In that case, meeting.
They're vacating Kennedy, so what should I do?
Come on.
All right, we're going to close the public hearing, the public comment rather. I say that. All right, consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like removed from the consent agenda? If there's nothing, can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So made.
Second. Moved by Isaac, second by Minash. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Please. All right, second reading ordinances?
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, pursuant to NJSA 48:21-1 et sec, granting abatement to local property taxes to Morgan Medical Arts Building LLC for facilities located at Block 1087, Lot 17, 456 Chestnut Street, and authorizing the mayor and/or his designee and township clerk to execute any and all documents necessary and proper to enter into a tax abatement agreement.
Open the meeting to the public. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this application?
After he
Tax
speaks.
abatement. Why don't you give a brief overview of the project, how many jobs?
Yes.
All those
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Township Committeeman. I'm here on behalf of Morgan Medical Arts Building LLC. Just as a quick background, even further than that, Dr. Morgan, who's in the audience here, has connections and his family's relationships going back to Lakewood to the 60s. As everyone knows, he's a doctor in town and has many of his family have been in town doing many good things for us. This building, which is now built, is a 3-story building, approximately a little more than 15,000 square feet. It is 90% medical, 10% office, and today, with the tenants that have come in, approximately 40 new jobs have been created by these businesses. Some of the businesses are new, so they're brand new. Some of them are existing businesses that were able to expand because Dr. Moore was able to go ahead and offer, hopefully, if he gets the abatement, reduced rents. And by offering those reduced rents, the tenants were able to say, you know what, we could stretch it and take a chance. We can grow the business in town. Obviously, the intent, if we look at the statute, it talks about it will significantly contribute to the expansion of commerce in the township, particularly in the commercial area, with the eventual increase in the tax base of a substantial rateable. The improvement of these facilities will provide increased job opportunities within the township, and the project shall contribute toward the inducement of other commercial firms to locate within the township. That has happened. I believe it was provided to the township already, but there are, I can go through each of the opportunities, but there are approximately 40 new jobs and new businesses in here, and it's a beautiful new building that when the abatement's over, it's a much bigger rateable for the township.
You actually read the law.
I learned something.
Way to go, Adam. Teacher, hasn't it? Would anybody like to be heard on this? Aaron, you had questions?
I think we should be doing a lot more of this. I agree this is good. We need to encourage more commercial, especially in my neighborhood where it's supposed to be commercial. So yes, we need to encourage more commercial buildings and better cut the residential. Thank you.
I agree. 28 years ago, I moved into a building with an abatement. One of the reasons my business was able to get started was because that rent was the lower and it gradually increased. So, does anybody else want to be heard on this?
Sit down, Aaron.
You're all done. I have a motion? So made. Moved by Minash.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Ordinance carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 2 entitled Administration of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood, specifically Section 2-20.9 Police Department Off-Duty Requirements.
Open the meeting to the public. Would anybody like to be heard? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. Second by Mike, second by Minash. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, creating a deed restriction on property owned by the Township of Lakewood known as Block 445, Lot 6, to dedicate said parcel for park, recreation, and open space purposes only. Vacant land, no assigned address in the area of Blanche Street and Columbus Avenue.
I'd like the committee to let this die. It was actually a mistake. The correct lot is on for first reading tonight. This is for a small pocket park behind the development over there. Seeing no motion, dies for lack of a motion. Number 4.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the public sale of Block 852, Lot 1.03 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, at open public sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 at SEC. Vacant land, no assigned address, in the area of Wilson Avenue and Spruce Street.
Open the meeting to the public. Would anybody like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing nobody, will close the public hearing. Second by Mike, second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the private sale of Block 1042, Lot 8 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey. Private sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 at SEC. Vacant land, no assigned address, in the area of Turn Avenue and Parkview Avenue.
Open the meeting to the public. Would anybody like to be heard? Seeing nobody, will close the public hearing.
I'll move it.
Moved by Isaac, second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, releasing, extinguishing, and vacating the rights of the public of a paper street known as Brick Street in the Township of Lakewood.
Open the meeting to the public. Would anybody like to be heard? Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. Moved. Second by Minaj, second by Mike, or vice versa. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries.
Ordinances for first reading. Good night.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, releasing, extinguishing, and vacating the rights of the public to a portion of certain paper streets and rights-of-way located in the Township of Lakewood known as Nassau Avenue and Pinehurst Avenue.
We have a motion.
So made.
Second by Isaac, second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes, ordinance passes. Second reading scheduled for December 21st.
Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, authorizing the private sale of Block 7, Lot 8 in the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey. Private sale pursuant to NJSA 48:12-1 at SEC. Vacant land, no assigned address, in the area of Hope Chapel Road.
We have a motion.
So made.
Moved by Isaac, second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Second reading, public hearing set for December 21st, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, releasing, extinguishing, and vacating the rights of the public to a portion of certain paper streets and right-of-ways located in the Township of Lakewood known as Ferry Street and June Street.
We have a motion.
So made.
Moved by Isaac. Second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Second reading and public hearing, December 21st, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 20 entitled Streets and Sidewalks of Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lakewood.
Motion.
Moved by Mike. One second. Second by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Second reading and public hearing set for December 21st, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, releasing, extinguishing, and vacating the rights of the public to portions of Kennedy Boulevard East, said portions being a paper street at the eastern terminus of Kennedy Boulevard East in the Township of Lakewood.
We have a motion.
Motion.
Moved by Mike. Second. Second by Minaj. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Second reading, public hearing set for December 21st, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, creating a deed restriction on property owned by the Township of Lakewood known as Block 445, Lot 3, to dedicate said parcel for park, recreation, and open space purposes only. Vacant land, no assigned address, in the area of Nostrand Avenue.
Do we have a motion?
So made.
Moved by Minaj.
I'll second.
Second by Isaac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Second reading, public hearing set for December 21st, 2017. Ordinance of the Township of Lakewood, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, returning all taxes and or forgiving tax obligations for years 2015, 16, and 17 on property known as Block 149, Lot 4. No assigned address in the area of East County Line Road, pursuant to NJSA 54:4-3.6C.
I'll move it. Moved by Isaac. Second. Second by Minash. Discussion?
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that was discussion.
That's fine, nobody said roll call, please.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes.
Ordinance carries. Public hearings get set for December 21st, 2017.
Correspondence, we have none, that's good. Have a motion to approve? Motion. Second. Discussion, roll call, please. Speed going home.
Wait, it was Delia and who second?
Minash.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Yes.
Committeeman Delia?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Coles?
Yes. Anybody like to make any comments? Minash?
I apologize, but I have something quick that I have to say so that something shouldn't get misconstrued. Brian Flannery got up and he was correct. He said that there was only a few changes that were made and it shouldn't have taken too long to go through it. I wasn't insinuating, God forbid, that anybody played any games or that the employees didn't do their job. It's just that just so happened that it came out late and I didn't have much time to put it in. So he was correct and just the way it is. But nobody did there was no wrongdoing there, and I did not mean to insinuate that there was.
Mike's making his comments in private, and I would just like to say thank you. I leave it to myself to say Happy Hanukkah to everybody who celebrates, and we'll see you all back here on December 21st. Motion to adjourn?
So maybe I'll second.
Happy Festivus. For the record.